Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome. I have something I'm going to be trying for the guests. If it works. It's not clear if it will, but we'll see. Maybe the YouTube guests will finally work. That would be good. Anyway, if you're just joining us, we did just start like 2 seconds ago, so make sure to like the live, make sure to follow along, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share, all things to get this sent out to more people so we can get the conversations going faster. We have our first guest.
Hello, mate.
69 Ching, how's it going?
How's your day been, bro?
It's been alright. I kind of just started, so do you believe in a God?
I don't have a religion, but I do believe in God, yes.
Okay, what God would that be?
Look, the way I think of it is that every religion is corrupt, but I can still believe in like the overlying power of the universe. Do you get what I mean? Like,
when you say the overlying power of the universe, like what kind of God do you believe in? Like is this a being with an intelligence? Like, I don't care about religion, like that's not the question.
nah. It's just like every day I'm like, thank the Lord. Do you get what I mean? Like the superpower.
Okay, so what Lord?
I don't know who it is. I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know. Do you get what I mean?
Then what is it that you believe in?
Because I've been through experiences in my life where I've like down bad, rock bottom, and the only thing that got me through it was praying.
So,
do you know what I mean?
Is there something that you believe in? Like you say you thank the Lord. What Lord?
Just God. God in general.
What properties does this God have? Did it create the universe?
Maybe it did. You never know.
It sounds like you don't know what you believe.
No, look, it's hard to answer because I'm trying to figure it out myself, but I'm not an atheist. Do you get what I mean?
Sure. It sounds like you might be an agnostic.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. But
okay.
Why are you an atheist? Why don't you believe in what?
Well, I don't believe in what you believe in because I don't even know what you believe in.
Yeah, but like, why don't you have a religion? Like, what's
the same reason you don't have a religion? I'm not convinced by it.
Yeah. And did you grow up as a Christian or a certain religion, or you just from like how do you come to the realization?
As far as I can remember, I've been an atheist for, as long back as I remember.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. Like for me, in regards of religion, like I don't believe in a certain religion, but I might be like agnostic, meaning that you believe in the superpower. I'm assuming this is correct. But
no, I don't do that.
You don't do that.
I don't believe in a superpower. But look, it seems like you're not really sure what you believe, so I'm going to let you go. But feel free to think about what it is you believe in and then come back at a later time. By the way, there is currently somebody who is power washing my house, so I've changed the noise gate. So hopefully the clipping's not so bad. Hopefully you can still hear me all right. If it becomes problematic, I'll fiddle with it a little bit. All right, let's talk to John Michael Anderson.
Hey, how you doing?
John Michael Anderson, how's it going?
Good. I love all of your videos. Just wanted to say real quick.
I appreciate that.
I would consider myself a raised Christian, probably agnostic now. I still struggle with thinking about it. My question was for you is that, from my understanding, atheism is not the belief that there is no God, but just the acknowledgement of the lack of evidence. Is that relatively correct?
Well, look, so atheism is a position about one specific thing, whether or not there's a God. An atheist holds the position that there isn't a God. Okay.
So I guess my question would be, is like, I listen to and appreciate science, but where science fails, I guess it is just my humanistic instinct to create something, but there's so much unknown as of right now that I feel, I guess for comfort's sake, feel that it makes more sense for there to be something higher, not necessarily being in like man in the sky, but it makes more sense for me to believe that there is at least some sort of like clockwork or god of intelligence that was like, okay, I can start this big bang and it goes from there. But I've always been curious on just a simple like, I guess I always understood when atheists like, oh, I just acknowledge the lack of evidence, like I just don't but to believe that there is no god also requires some amount of faith. So I've always been curious on why you've come to the conclusion that there definitively is no God. Not that I disagree, but there's just that there is definitively no God.
Look,
as
so
a belief.
there's a proposition, the proposition being God exists. You can either believe you can either hold the belief that proposition is true, you can hold the belief that proposition is false, or you can withhold belief and just be like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just not sure. I've heard compelling arguments that lead me to the conclusion that the proposition is false. I have not heard particularly compelling arguments that lead me to the conclusion that the proposition is true. I'm more convinced that it's false than it's true, basically. It's nothing about certainty. It's nothing about, definitively. It's just like, look, I've been convinced that this proposition is not true.
I love it. I love the answer. And thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And just want to say, keep making your videos. You freaking awesome.
I appreciate you, John. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Great. Let's bring up our next guest. Just, how's it going?
What's up, bro?
Not a whole lot. Your audio is pretty low there. Are you able to get a little bit closer to the mic?
Is this better?
Yeah, I think so.
This is good, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess the strongest argument for God, in my opinion, would be the dependency argument. Have you heard of it?
Probably. Do you want to lay it out for the audience?
You just lagged out there.
I did. Do you want to lay it out for the audience?
So there is basically just starting off with a postulation that there cannot be a state of affairs of only dependent things, because
hold on, your audio is still very, very quiet. Like nobody can hear you.
All right, give me one second. Okay, so okay, is it better?
Not really.
Damn. All right. Guess I'm just gonna have to talk louder. Is this good?
That's probably better.
All right. So basically, the postulation is that there cannot be a state of affairs of only dependent things. There must be something which is outside of the, chain of dependent things. And if that thing itself is necessary, then it's gonna result in the absurdity of the infinite regress. So therefore, there must be a necessary existence which caused things to exist, and that would be God.
So how are you using the word dependent?
That which requires something else external to itself for existence.
Okay, and so how do you figure that so your first postulation was that everything that's dependent requires something else to exist? Is that the case? Is that what you're saying?
Wait, say that again?
Everything that's dependent requires something else to exist? That's what your postulation is? It's kind of by definition?
Yeah, everything that's dependent requires something else external to itself to exist.
Okay, so how do you figure that there are dependent things? I mean, like, okay, perhaps we can grant that there are dependent things. How do you figure that all of the physical things are dependent?
All of the physical things are dependent? Well, again, obviously, I'm just going to go with the model of the Big Bang Theory about the universe. So if the universe began to exist, it requires a cause for that motion, and motion requires a cause. And then I could just run a deductive argument that whatever caused the Big Bang to exist itself cannot be a dependent thing. or it could be a dependent thing, but then that itself would require an explanation for what caused that, and it cannot go back infinitely because there would be no explanation for why things exist in the first place.
Well, to be clear, it seems like you're
So
kind of
there must be
confusing. It seems like you're kind of confusing like temporal regress with ontological dependency regress, right? So it could be the case that you could have an infinite chain. I don't see why it couldn't be the case that you could have an infinite chain of moments before the Big Bang, each one causing the next, but you still have some underlying fundamental ontological thing upon which,
but again,
some ontological fundamental physical thing upon which all of the other stuff is kind of the players on an underlying stage.
But hold on, if you hold that there can be an infinite regression of causes, each fully dependent, that just raises the question: for every event that you pick within this, chain, it requires something. So there is no first cause.
Yes,
so if there's
that
no
would be
first
true
cause
if there's
to
an infinite regress of causes.
Okay. So it's possible that something can begin to exist without having a cause.
No, it wouldn't begin to exist. It would have always
so
existed.
Is it impossible for
That's
something? Is it impossible for something to begin to exist without having a cause? Is that an impossibility or a possibility?
You would at least have to give an argument. It doesn't seem like it's logically impossible.
Wait, hold on. This is the argument. The question itself is gonna, decide whether it's possible that an infinite regress could exist. If you grant to me that it's impossible for something to exist without cause, that it.
By the way, your connection's cutting out.
To you, he came
Your
out of
connection's
nothing.
cutting out. Can
and
you
that's a
repeat
logical
that?
possible. Yeah, so it's a true dichotomy that either it's possible or impossible. There's no other alternative to this scenario. Either it's a
so
logical
we have to be a little bit-
impossibility that something can begin.
Okay, so I don't think it's a logical impossibility, no.
Okay, so it's a possibility that something can begin to exist without having a cause for its existence.
That seems like it doesn't seem like there's some built-in logical contradiction there.
You don't think that it's a logical contradiction that something can just spawn from nothing with literally no cause for why it spawned into existence?
I appreciate
it just happened to come into existence from absolutely
I appreciate
nothing.
the intuition pumping, and I understand that this is counterintuitive. But to say that something is logically impossible is much stronger than to say something is, say, physically impossible or even metaphysically impossible. To say something is logically impossible implies that there is some explicit contradiction in the statement itself, or in the implications of the statement. So if you can derive that, that would be great. And then I'd be like, yeah, you're right, it is logically impossible. But it's not clear to me that it's logically impossible that something can begin to exist, that it's logically impossible for something to begin to exist without a cause.
Yeah, I believe that it's logically impossible and metaphysically impossible that something can begin to exist without having a cause.
On what grounds do you think it's logically impossible for something to begin to exist without a cause?
How exactly do you want me to disprove to you that something
provide a
that
contradiction
exists must have a cause for its existence? I mean, it seems
provide the contradiction.
The contradiction is that it's an impossibility.
That's just saying the claim again. You have to provide the contradiction.
Yeah. Are you looking for like a specific name for a contradiction, like the law
No,
of
I'm looking for a P and a not P. Look. So it is logically impossible for a bachelor to be married, because a bachelor is a non-married person. So a non-married person cannot also be a married person, as that would be a P and a not P. Person A is married and person A is not married. So what's the contradiction in something beginning to exist without a cause? What's the logical contradiction? What's the P and not P?
All right, good. So that example that you just gave, it's basically showing that the contradiction is a contradiction, because definitionally a married bachelor cannot exist, because by definition a bachelor is somebody who is unmarried. So being a married or whatever, you get what I'm saying. Definitionally, it's a contradiction.
This is
let's look at. Yeah, so let's look at the definition of what something is dependent for, right? If we're talking about
Sorry.
ontological dependency, which I'm
You're moving the goalposts. The claim here is that you said, sorry, the claim isn't that you said. The claim is that it is logically impossible for a thing to begin without a cause. That has nothing to do with dependency,
But
right?
yeah, but the argument is predicated on existence, though. It's not talking about like abstract logical ideas. It's talking about
So
real
you asked,
existence.
is it logically impossible? I said, I'm not convinced it is logically impossible, and then you've been pushing back on me on that. If you want to say it's physically
Yeah, no,
impossible, provide the law of physics that makes that the case, and we can talk about it.
The law of physics. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm using the principle of causality.
So if you say something's logically impossible, then presumably that means that you have some logical contradiction in mind, that if the proposition was true, then you would be affirming a contradiction. If you say that something is physically impossible, then that means that presumably you have some law of physics in mind, that if the proposition was true, you would be violating or breaking one of these laws of physics.
Okay, so the laws of physics are predicated on these logical laws. So it's the same thing.
What
Whether
logical
I prove it
laws?
logically, or the law of causality.
Sorry, is that a law? What law is that?
This is Newton's law of causality. Have you not studied physics?
Newton doesn't have a law of causality, my guy.
Oh my God, bro! You haven't studied philosophy, bro. We can tell, bro. This is bad for you. This is a bad look, bro.
So is there some physical law that a thing would break if it began to exist without a cause?
Yes, the law of causality. This is breaking the law of causality.
Could I find this in a physics textbook?
Physics is using causality for its studies. What do you think
Not really.
science is? Science is based on logical principles that it uses upon. Are you saying that physics can break the laws of logic?
What law of logic is it breaking?
The law of causality.
Okay, is there a philosophy textbook or like a philosophy of logic textbook where I can go see it written down, the law of causality? Because that's not a law.
Yeah, there's many laws within philosophy. There's a law of identity, there's a law of transcendenticity, there's a law of causality. There's many laws. You just haven't studied them.
Okay, where can I go read? Actually, you know what? Let me just go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy and we'll look up law of causality. It should be there if it's a real thing, right?
Sure, yeah, go on. Go. You can definitely look it up. It's definitely there.
Let's go see if the law of causality. Oh no, what is this? Oh no.
Show your screen. Show your screen. Show your screen.
I'm going to. Don't worry.
Show your screen. Don't be lying. Every effect has a cause. Congratulations.
Why are we looking at an AI overview? We're looking at Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Causation in the law, the metaphysics of causation, regularity and inferential theories of causation and manipulability. Doesn't seem like the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy has anything called the law of causality.
Read the first Stanford philosophy.
Causation in the law, sure. This is presumably about like legal stuff.
No, you don't have to read all. Just go back and read what was under the thing.
Oh, you mean the AI overview?
No. It says the basic questions concerning the law, the causation.
Oh, the basic questions concerning causation in the law are: what are the criteria in law for deciding whether one action or event has caused another, etc. This is about like legal stuff.
Yeah, but this is applying to philosophy. It says
this is legal philosophy, right? We can go. Let's just go find that quote and then we can read it a little bit more. The basic criteria. Wait, wasn't that the phrase? Criteria in law. In the context of basic questions concerning causation in the law are: what are the criteria in law for deciding whether one action or event has caused another generally harmful event? 2, whether and to what extent causation in legal context differ from causation outside the law, for example in science and everyday life? And 3, what reasons, presumably based on the law's use of causation to attribute responsibility, explain and or justify such differences as may be found to exist? So this article, you can't see that. This article is about like legal stuff. So this is legal philosophy, right? We're talking about like the Anglo-American legal tradition. This is not the law of causality. This is not some universal law of causality as you made it out to be. So tell me, where can I find out about this law of causation?
Okay, so causation is just defined as every effect has a cause. This is what we use as causality. This
That's
is
an
what philosophers
assertion, by the
say
way.
when they're talking about causality. That's an assertion. So what do you think causality is? You don't think causality exists?
I'm pretty skeptical of the traditional philosophical notion of causality, yeah. I take a more scientific approach, where causality is merely a relation between it's merely a relation between space-time events that are spatially or that are temporally separated.
Wait, say that again. You said
I
it's
take
based on
causality
space
to
and
be
time?
merely a relation between space-time events that are temporally separated. Or are
Yeah, that's what-
temporally
of
coincident.
course that's what
That's
it
fine
is.
too. It's not some metaphysical
that's what it
relation
is,
of
of
between
course.
cause and effect, like that is I'm pretty skeptical of that kind of notion.
Yeah, but causality can be applied to non-physical things. For example, let's say John had 5 apples and he gave 1 apple to his friend. The reason why John has less apples is because the cause, which is himself, which he gave to the other person. Causality just worked without having it to be
Hold on, I'm sorry. You said the reason. Reasons and causes are not the same thing. All causes are reasons, not all reasons are causes.
All reasons are causes? Is that what you just said?
No, all causes are reasons, not all reasons are causes.
How does that disprove my point?
You gave a reason, not a cause.
Yeah, if an effect has a cause, that's the reason why it exists.
So the reason why John had 5 apples and now he has 4 is because 5 minus 1 is 4, right? That is a reason, and it's applied to some sort of abstract object. But the cause of the quantity of apples he has decreasing, well, that's just he has 5 apples, now he has 4 apples. The cause is like the physical motion of him like grabbing the thing and moving it, right? The cause is not 5 minus 1 is 4.
All right, so like I said, right? Every effect has a cause. This is the principle of causality.
Oh, now it's a principle, not a law?
That's what I originally said. It's a principle. The principle. Of
I'm pretty
causality.
sure you originally said it's a law. Called it the law of causality.
Yeah, I can just hold to be a law and principle is the same thing.
Yeah, laws and principle. Okay, sure. I mean, they're not the same thing, but fine.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so
okay, so yeah, basically, right, the contradiction that you gave about the married bachelor can be applied to the universe, right? Because I hold that the universe began
Can
to
it?
exist, therefore it must require a cause.
how does that?
Of course it can.
Okay, there's a few things happening here. First, you said you hold to the universe beginning to exist. We can talk about that. I think you'll find that that's not a consensus, but fine. The second thing is that even if the universe began to exist, you have yet to show that that means that it has a cause.
Everything, yeah, of course, everything that begins to exist has a cause for its existence. This is just basic logic.
That's
If
an
you don't think
assertion.
that something can begin to exist in physical time. In physical time, we're talking about physical time, something that happened in physical time. So hold on. If it didn't begin to exist, wait, hold on. Are you saying it began to exist? Where did it come from? If it began to exist, can you tell me that?
Well, first we have to be a little bit
What was the
careful.
cause?
When you say
What's the
when
explanation?
you say began to exist, do you mean that there was a first moment of time?
There was a time where it did not exist, and then it came into existence. So yes.
Okay, yeah. So I reject the notion that there was a time when when the universe didn't exist.
When the universe didn't exist.
Yeah, I reject
So
that.
you're saying that the universe, you're saying that the universe is eternal.
No, what I'm saying is that for every moment of time that has existed, the universe has existed.
Yeah, that means it's eternal. So the universe
No,
is
it doesn't.
eternal. Okay, that's
There could be a
fine.
first moment, and then there's no universe before that first moment, and there's also there's no time before that first moment because there's no before.
Wait, so the universe just came from nothing.
No, that's not the claim.
So how did it come? How did it come into existence?
It could have been kind of ontologically, or it could have been ontologically preceded by a timeless state of affairs for the universe.
A timeless state of affairs. Okay, what is this thing that caused it to exist? Or what is this timeless thing? What is it? Does it have any substance?
It's like a
any
universe, except it just doesn't have time.
ontology? Did that cause it to? Did that cause this universe to exist?
Causation is a confused notion if you are talking about a thing that doesn't have time.
Hold on. You believe in a timeless universe?
No,
Who
I think that
holds
this is at least a possibility.
Okay, so is it possible that God? I think God is the most like plausible explanation for why the universe even exists, because God has a will, he is timeless, he is necessary. These are all the attributes that we associate with the timeless thing that you're talking about, except you just derived its consciousness and its will and caused it and said it's some type of like
like
that isn't any that's not the most type of what I'm asking you what it is.
Yeah, so this is an idea put forward by James Hartle and Stephen Hawking in the 80s. It's called the no boundary proposal. This is like a real thing that physicists take seriously. So it's not really like stealing from religion. It's not working within the confines of theism and then just throwing away the mind or something. This is just like something that is kind of expected or perhaps predicted given certain types of quantum gravity behavior. You have a timeless state of affairs that give rise to a non-timeless state of affairs, or to a time-full state of affairs. We would call that boundary between the timeless and the time-full state of affairs. You might call that the Big Bang.
Is there a distinction between them, or are they the same
One has
thing?
time, the other doesn't.
So they're distinct things, correct?
In some sense, they have distinct characteristics, but it's sort of like a transition. It's sort of like, you could say that like an ice cube is distinct from the water that it melts into, but it's like the same thing, it's just transitioned, right?
And so this timeless thing that you've just made up, it basically just
Definitely
made
didn't
the
just
universe
make up.
come into existence.
This is an idea that predates me being alive. Anyway, you were saying before you started to poison the well?
So how is it that you're gonna say that it did not cause the universe to exist? You're just
Because
trying to, like,
causation
avoid
is a
the-
notion that only exists within time. And if there's no time, then it doesn't make sense to talk about it causing anything.
Wait, hold on. If there's no time, then therefore the universe is eternal, because what you're saying is that this physical universe went from a time of not existing to existing. Therefore,
No,
it
you're
had
confused.
a change in states, therefore time.
I don't define time as a change in state.
No, I'm not confused. You're confused.
I don't define time as a change in state.
That's the definition of metaphysical time.
I don't care about your
that's my
definition of
definition of
metaphysical time.
time.
The way that I'm using the language of time is to refer to
Yeah, and I don't care about your
particular-
definition. I don't care about nice
if you're
argument,
doing
nice.
if you're doing an internal critique of this proposition that I'm giving you, then you have to work with the definitions that I'm using. Otherwise, you're just strawmanning me.
There's an objective definition that I'm applying, so it has to.
Definitions aren't objective.
My
Definitions
definition is
are by
objective.
definition subjective.
Wait, so if definitions are not subjective, I mean, if definitions are subjective, then there's no contradiction within reality, because I can just say that a married bachelor can exist. I'm just going to change
You
the
can.
definition
You would
of
just
a
be
bachelor
changing
to
the
somebody
definition of
who is-
bachelor, yeah, or married, yeah.
Yeah, so there. So okay,
So
if we
look,
change
when we
definitions, there's no
talk about
contradiction in reality.
contradictions, what we're talking about is contradictions in meaning. You can redefine words however you
Yeah,
want.
meanings.
It's just when we typically
meanings
talk
are definitions.
The point,
Meanings are definitions. Bro.
right, and so when we talk about a contradiction in the existence, in the logical existence of a married bachelor, what we mean is that there's a contradiction in the meaning implied by the word married and the meaning implied by the word bachelor. Now, if you mean something else by the word bachelor, then no, there doesn't have to be a contradiction. It's just typically you and I both understand what we mean by the word contradiction, or sorry, by the word bachelor.
Meanings are dependent upon definitions. If we
No,
hold
meanings
separate
are
definitions, and we say that
If you and I accept the same
that's what I
meanings
said,
for a word, then that's fine. But look, if you're going to critique my worldview, then you should use words the way that I'm using those words. Otherwise, you're just strawmanning my view.
if everything is just subjective meaning, there's no way of actually disproving anybody's position, because I can just say I don't believe that's
Look,
that's what
so
I mean.
there are
Therefore, I'm correct.
certain meanings I attribute to certain words, and so if you think that my view, as in the things that I mean, not just the words that I'm saying, but the things that I mean, if you think that the things that I mean are incorrect, then that would mean that you should be able to take on the language that I'm using with the definitions that I'm using and show that there's a contradiction in the meanings implied by that language in the way that I'm using it.
I can still disprove to you that your argument about time is somehow different than mine's.
Yes, we may have different notions for the words time. The way that I think about time, the way that I use the word time, is a purely wait a minute. Of course, it's purely temporal, and it has to do with specific space-time relations and so on. That's the way that I, and all physicists, by the way, use the word time.
Whoa, you just made a huge assertion. You do realize that there's different theories of time, right?
Yeah, sure. If you ask a physicist
So
what
not
they
all
mean by
physicists
time,
agree
they
with
will
you on
tell
that.
you that time is a space-time relation. Specific kind of space-time relation.
Do you know what the definition of metaphysical time is?
I don't care about metaphysical time. I'm talking about time in the sense that physicists use it.
Yeah, nice argument, bro. Just say I don't care to somebody and then therefore they're false, right?
If you're trying to critique my worldview, you have to adopt the definitions I'm using.
How am I going to critique your argument without presuppositions that I hold to? Therefore, I'm just
Sorry,
gonna
you cut
agree with
out.
your
How can
definition
you
that you're true on.
critique my argument without what? Oh, he ran. He either ran or he disconnected, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ran. Well, let's note that down. Time of death 031. All right. Let us bring up another guest. Talk to Doral. Doral. All right, looks like Dural's not coming up. Let's actually read some super chats while we're here. So we have $10 from Bacon and Bush. I need you to have a call in for Ask a Physicist. I have a lot of questions. Regardless, love what you do. Hail Satan. Bacon and Bush, the best way to ask me questions on is either A, in the Discord, or B, by sending super chats, as you already have. I stopped taking guests in the Ask a Physicist because essentially, when the Ask a Physicist was smaller, when I only had, say, 200 people, it felt less bad to ignore 200 people's questions and just talk to one person for 10 or 15 minutes. But now I have 800 plus people watching across 3 platforms. And it just feels rude to ignore 800 people asking questions to talk to one person. That's why. Marduk, thank you for the $5. Marduk says, thanks for all you do, Dr. Blitz. I appreciate that. All right, let's bring up another guest. There's a person named Jay in the comments who I guess should be, should probably come up. Jay, do you want to come up? I can invite you. What is Jay? Where is Jay? I see R. Okay, oh, Jay can't come up. That's a shame. All right, let's bring up the Dubai kid. Sounds like the Dubai kid sounds like a cowboy. The Dubai kid. Oh, this is a child, isn't it? Let's talk to Slip Whistle.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Slip Whistle. How's it going?
Oh, long time listener, first time whatever. So, your
works.
preface is Your preface is, can you convince me to believe in your God?
Yep.
The answer is probably no, but I'd like to reverse that on you. Can you convince me to believe in your God, Dr. Blitz?
I don't believe in a
your
God.
Oh, what do you believe in?
Not a God.
Okay, not a God. So
Yeah, so I'm an
all
atheist.
God-
But if you don't want to engage with the prompt, like it does say, can you convince me to believe in your God? If you don't want to try to do that,
Okay.
then,
Well, then,
you know.
then my God is convince you to believe in my God. That's a very.
Do
that's
you
a
believe
good
in a
one.
God?
I'm going to say yes.
You're going to say it, or do you actually mean it?
Yes, I believe in a God.
Okay, and which one would that be?
The one that makes everything happen.
Okay. Why would you, like, what's the reason for your belief? Like, how did you come to that conclusion, if you don't mind?
Well, because with all like the randomness and the reorganization of all elements to become, something beautiful or simple or understandable, there is some rhyme or reason to it, like the E equals MC squared kind of. There is a solution, there is a pattern, there must be something that or someone or a higher dimension would be my God, I believe.
A higher dimension is your God?
Yeah.
How does a higher dimension solve the problems that you just laid out?
It makes everything trivial.
How does having more space?
Not more space.
Well, that's what a higher dimension is.
No, it is not. A higher. You're the physicist here.
Yeah. So a higher dimension is more space. It's like more directions that you can go in.
Okay, so like X, Y, Z, and then
yeah, and then you can have like W
and R and J and okay, so yeah, that would be my God.
But it doesn't seem like it solves the issue that you brought up. Like all of this like organization and stuff. Like, how does having an extra dimension get you there?
Not an extra dimension, but a higher dimension. So
how does that
God
resolve the issues?
My God would be a higher dimension.
Okay. It just doesn't seem like we're talking about the same thing. Thanks for being here. All right, let's talk to the Dubai kid, who apparently is 19.
Shut the fuck up, you nigga.
Oh, he's not 19. He's like an infant. That's a shame. Okay. Let us talk to this person. Your objective morality proves that God exists because God put that law into your heart. Can you hear me? You're on the show. You're in the live stream. That's his full name, by the way. Okay, doesn't look like he wants to come up. Let's talk to Unknown. Unknown, can you hear me? Oh shit, wait, hold on, I know why. Wait. Unknown, can you hear me? Testing? Oh wait, hold on. I feel bad, I just kicked somebody and I know why they couldn't hear me. Unknown, can you hear me? Testing, testing.
Oh, okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Can you just give me some testing audio? I want to see if I can fix this. So go ahead and give me some audio. I can, however, I'm having another issue. Try again.
Testing, testing.
Okay, well, I can hear you just fine. It's a little bit, there's a little bit of an audio thing, but it's fine. So, Unknown, do you believe in God?
Okay, so I do in a way, but my God is not a traditional God. So
Okay, what kind of God do you believe in?
So I believe. Okay, I'll walk you to it because it's kind of hard to explain. So the beginning of the universe, obviously, the beginning of time is the Big Bang. Well, not the beginning of the universe, but what we think of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, the only thing that I would apply a God to is what was before the Big Bang, because what caused the energy buildup to the pinpoint? Like, where did that energy come from?
So you just say God is the thing that caused the Big Bang?
Yes, I would say that well, I wouldn't say it's the thing. I would say that something had to put the energy there, wherever this initial energy started. If we're
Couldn't it
going
have
off
just
of
been
like
another physical state?
possibly, but where did the energy from that physical state start?
Another physical state.
But like that's the thing. The chain keeps going, but where did the
Mhm.
initial energy from all of everything come from? That's what I
Why
would
does there
put
have to have been an original place that it came from? Why couldn't it just go back all the way?
because the energy cannot be created or destroyed.
If energy cannot be created or destroyed, then that would mean that if there's energy now, then it's always existed.
But what put it into existence?
Nothing
That
can
would be
put
what
it into existence if it can't be created or destroyed. Like,
can't
you're
just
telling me it
exist.
can't be created, and then you're telling me
Yes,
that somebody created it.
No, I'm not saying that somebody created it. I'm saying that in like the God that I would believe in, put it in the. I wouldn't even say universe. I would just say
So then
like space,
that sounds like
time.
creating.
I mean, I don't know if I would consider that creating, but yeah,
Well,
I guess
it was there and then it
could.
wasn't, or it wasn't there and then it was there, right?
Yeah,
So that would be creating.
I mean, it would be existing.
So if
What
it
put it
can't be
into
created,
existence?
if it can't be created, that would mean that it never began to exist, right?
So you don't agree with the law that it can't be created?
Look, you said that it can't be created or destroyed. So if it cannot be created, then that would mean that it could never have begun to exist, right?
So we couldn't exist.
No. All that means is that if it didn't begin to exist, but it does exist now, it just means that it's always existed.
I just don't. That does.
If it can't
I
be
don't
created,
know.
okay, look,
That doesn't make
if
sense.
it
How can something always exist
if it
without
can't be created,
anything starting?
hear me out. If it can't be created, if you have something that can't be created, but you have it, that means that it wasn't created yesterday, so it existed yesterday, because it existed today and it must have existed yesterday, right? If it can't be created. And if it can't be created, then it must have existed the day before that. And it must have existed the day before that too, because
I
it couldn't have been
understand. I
created.
understand that, but
So
what?
all you're telling me is that if it can't be created and there exists energy now, then it always existed.
So what is the origination of that energy then?
It wouldn't have had an origination. It would have always existed.
How could it always have existed?
I don't understand the question. What do you mean how?
How could it have always existed?
Why couldn't it?
Why could it? Is that the big question with the Big Bang?
It must have been the case if it couldn't have been created. That necessarily follows. If a thing exists and wasn't created, meaning it didn't begin to exist, then it has always existed.
I mean, I get that, and I kind of agree with that, and to a certain extent, it's just confusing. But let me ask you this: would you agree or disagree with the notion that possibly the laws of physics can be tweaked in the future? Like,
I would say if something can be tweaked, then it's not a law of physics.
Oh, okay.
A law of physics is supposed to be, a regularity observed in nature that is unchanging.
It should be.
Well, that's just what we mean by a law of nature. So if you're saying that there's this regularity in nature that does change, then it's just not a regularity in nature.
But yes, okay, so it would just not become. It wouldn't be physics anymore if it was
We just wouldn't call it a law. We would call it like, you know, some
Oh,
phenomenon or something
okay,
like that.
yes, I forget. There's a different term for laws than the other one. It would be a theory, right, or a theorem or something.
No. It would just be like, you know, it would just be like a series of events or something, or a dynamical system or something like that.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I really have for you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, Unknown. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, one sec. Let's read a super chat or two, and then we'll move on to the next guest. We have one super chat from Texas Panhandler. Thank you for the $5, Texas. My God likes space and stuff, bro. He's like time and trees and dimensions. Look, a lot of people don't think about this a lot. Like, they just don't think about their theology a whole lot, which is fine. You don't have to, but then why come up to talk about it? All right, let's talk to 5, I want to say is how to say that name.
Yo, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Should I call you 5 or what should I call you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. 5, how are you?
Sorry, what was that? You said
how are you?
What?
How are you?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm all right.
Okay, good.
I'm all right.
Do you believe in a God, 5?
Yes.
And which one would that be?
I don't want to put a title on it, obviously, right?
Well, you don't have to put a title on it. I just want to like.
But
the only reason I'm asking is to just
Christian
get some
God.
sort of sense of like what it is you believe.
Right. It's not a Christian God. It's not a Catholic God. It's just I believe in like a higher self, one mind. So I would my understanding of God would be like God is. I am a piece of God, right? Like a small. We all have like a small piece of God in us. So that would be my belief.
Okay, so what do you take this like? What do you take the properties of this God to be? Like, did it create the universe? Does it exist outside of space and time? Does it have thoughts
outside of our traditional Einstein space and time? Yes.
Does it have like thoughts? Or a mind or a will, perhaps?
I would say it does. Yes, its own mind, its own will,
separate from ours.
separate
If
from ours.
like if all the humans just suddenly like vanished, it would still exist and like still have a will and stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So why do you believe in that?
Okay, so this could get interesting because you're a physicist. So I know you know a little bit about quantum mechanics, quantum physics, observation theory. Why you look like that, dude?
We'll see.
Why did you do that face though?
We'll see.
Bro?
We'll see.
So like my idea in my head is that we live in a simulation. So everything here is well made but artificial. And because of that, I also believe that the body I am in is also artificial and part of the simulation. And therefore my true self is operating the avatar kind of like a car, like how you would drive a car.
Like in the Blue People movie?
I'm going to just say yes, even though I don't know what you're talking about. But probably.
You didn't see James Cameron's Avatar?
Oh,
it was like the highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah,
you know, they step in the machine and then they control the blue people.
Yes, so dead on, just like that. He said, "Bro's been watching Matrix and he's high as fuck."
Well, yeah, I mean that is what it sounds like. Like, why would you believe that that's the case?
Well, things like particles. We do know that particles act differently after being observed. Yes.
Not really. No.
They behave in a wave-like format.
They're always waves.
And then when they're observed, they go back to solid.
No, they're always waves. What you're mistaken about is you're confusing observation with interaction. So when you interact with something, you're going to change the way it behaves for kind of obvious reasons. Like if you bump your car into another car, the other car is going to move a little bit, or it's going to change its trajectory or whatever. So whenever we interact with something, it's going to change the way it behaves. And so that's what you're confusing with this whole observer business. This has nothing to do with consciousness. At least we don't have any good reason to think so. This has nothing to do with the mind. This has nothing to do with any of that stuff. It's completely captured just with the notion of interaction.
Okay. Interesting, man. But yeah, that was just my belief. I know I'm not gonna be able to convince you of anything, but I thought I'd have a better chance than them since I'm actually talking about something that's measurable.
All right, well, Five, I'm gonna let you go, but thank you for being here.
Yep.
All right, we have a few more super chats. We have $50. Thank you so much, LSS Big Papa. Not sure if anyone is going to convince you, LOL, but all I know, the amount of blessings I've had ever since I've tried to get closer to God, it made feel comforted by faith even when times are really tough. But hey, best of luck trying to believe, LOL. Look, I appreciate that this is a thing that's meaningful to you. I appreciate that you think that if I can come to the same beliefs that you came to, that it would be meaningful for me. And maybe it would be. I appreciate that. I know that you're just looking out for the best for me. Hopefully, if it's real, somebody can convince me, right? But regardless, thank you for the $50. I do appreciate it. Jack Federer, thank you for the $5 super chat. Question, in science, is infinity, i.e. no start, no end, etc., useful mainly for theoretical conclusions to be made or a legitimate accepted belief? I don't know what, so infinity is not like a belief, it's like a mathematical concept, and it shows up in quantum field theory, it shows up in like real experimental stuff, like we have to do like stuff with infinities and real experiments, and it also shows up in like more theoretical or more like speculative stuff, like that concept. Kilotonics sent $5. Thank you, Kilotonics. Can you explain the difference between interaction and observation with respect to the two-slit experiment? Yeah, so observation, there is no observation without interaction, that's the point. Namely, in order to observe something, like, for example, if you were looking at an apple, the reason why you can see the apple is because there's photons from the sun or from the light bulbs in your room bouncing off of that apple and then going into your eyeball. So that interaction of the photon bouncing off of the apple, that's the interaction. Now, your observation is just this passive thing where, like, the photons enter your eyeball. That doesn't really have anything to do with it. And it's similar with the double slit experiment. If you're going to make an observation, you have to interact with it in some way. All right, let's bring up our next guest. We have a lot of guests on YouTube. Let's talk to Veteran Apologetics. Veteran Apologetics, how's it going?
Hey, buddy, are you able to hear me?
I am. Give me one moment. All right. What you got for me? Do you believe in God?
Yeah, so I am a self-professed Christian, you know. I did grow up in like a multi-faith household, and I grew up believing different things, and like a period in my teenagehood exploring different, you know, religions, that type of stuff. And I guess the first thing I wanted to do was thank you for, you know, coming on and doing this. You know, it's not easy to have people come on in the opposition and all that stuff. So thank you for just putting yourself out there and being open to open dialogue, you know. I am a Christian and I believe in God because I believe in like a natural order of things, right? Physics would tell us, according to the second law of thermodynamics, right? Everything moves from order to disorder, right? But if we look at nature and all that stuff, the Big Bang and all that stuff, we're to believe that all this order came out of nowhere, right? And I'm not saying that maybe God, this all-powerful being, can't just, you know, speak, and maybe that is a Big Bang. But I would argue that there is a reason for God because it makes sense logically, right? Like, if you make good enough grades, if you study hard enough, you get good enough grades. If you're good enough at the sport, you make the team, right? So if there is a heaven, then there has to be a standard by which we have to measure who gets in and who doesn't. So I believe that there is a higher power and there is a God, you know?
So look, I don't think that there's a heaven, so it's
Okay.
not super relevant to me.
Sure.
I'm also not clear how we need a God to explain why there's order in the universe. I mean, if
I think God would be the explanation, right? Like, we don't need him to explain per se like everything, but he is the explanation of why there is order in the universe.
Well, that's a claim, right? Like, there could be alternative explanations that we haven't considered,
so
right?
there's multiple things that you can look at, right? Like, I mean, look at the God molecule, laminin, right? Laminin is the protein molecule that literally holds your cells together in your body, like a biology major or organic chemistry.
Fine. That's fine. How does that mean that God's real?
It's literally the shape of a cross that holds your body together.
So what?
You know, and then
There's
Number
lots of
two,
there's lots of shapes in the human body.
right. Number two, when you bring up religion, right, Christianity has historicity, right? Meaning you can go to the Bible, you can look at things that happened in the Bible, and you can go to those places where it happened and actually find evidence of what happened. Right?
So absolutely.
So
Look, the Bible can, at least certain parts of the Bible can be understood as historical fiction, right? It has that same kind of style, namely that it refers to real places, real times, real events, and then it inserts characters in that, and then it inserts characters in that setting. Right. But that doesn't mean that the characters. Well, not necessarily. For example, we have no historical documentation or no historical evidence or archaeological evidence or anything of that kind that Jesus rose from the dead.
Well, we have eyewitness testimonies, and we have after that
From whom?
You have the Holy Spirit that came down and miracles that were done in His name.
Who do we have eyewitness testimony from?
Even Jesus himself.
Veteran. Who do we have eyewitness testimony from?
Yeah, you have over 500 people that saw him after he rose from the dead. Even the 12 disciples himself.
Wait,
right?
who are they?
People that wrote down their accounts, including the 12 disciples.
Veteran, you got it. Veteran, you have to like do it back and forth. So whose eyewitness accounts do we have?
You have the 12 disciples, namely.
Who? Which ones?
You have Paul, you have Matthew, Luke.
Paul didn't see Jesus rise from the dead.
Paul didn't, but Thomas did.
Okay, do we have Thomas's account?
Yeah, in the later books of the New Testament, yeah.
Did he? So you're telling me So hold on, to be clear, you're telling me that he wrote them?
No, he didn't write them.
So then how do we know that they're eyewitness accounts?
Documented down.
How do you know that these are his accounts?
Just like we know that Jesus was a real person because there were people that wrote down historical accounts. Like you had, what was it? Not Plato. Socrates. Who was it? Someone wrote about
Socrates.
Jesus,
you're thinking about Josephus and Tacitus.
Yeah, exactly. And those guys were never Christian. They never admitted to professing their faith.
Right.
I don't know whether they
agree.
have in hell. I'm not the arbiter of that.
So,
but I do know that there's a lot of historicity and truth.
Here's the issue.
As opposed to other religions.
The original. So Mark is the earliest gospel. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
So in Mark, the original version of Mark, not the stuff that has the last 17 verses or whatever added onto it, there are no post-resurrection accounts in Mark. And then, by the time we get to John, after filtering through another 30 or 40 years of storytelling, we have like all sorts of accounts. We have like accounts of like, and you know, we have 500, this isn't in John, I don't think, but we have like 500 people, and then we have like he appears several times to several people. And then we have like zombies rising from the dead and so on.
You're asking for proof. Like, where's the proof that
I'm asking for the archaeological or the compelling historical evidence that this is the case.
Right? Jesus himself said,
to be clear,
I do not go, the messenger will not come.
So you're telling me that the Holy Spirit is archaeological evidence?
That is our proof. That is our proof.
Okay, so it's not so how is that going to convince anyone who's not already a believer?
To convince them of what?
How is that going to convince anyone who's not already a believer?
What is the Holy Spirit?
Yeah.
Because they haven't experienced it.
Yeah, so you telling me about the Holy Spirit will not be compelling to me.
Because
I don't believe it exists.
And see, you don't have, and I understand that you don't believe it exists, but that's because you haven't tasted and seen that the Lord is good, right? The Bible says taste and
fine.
See that the Lord is good.
Look, that's fine. I'm asking you, can you present any arguments or evidence or reasoning that I should accept that this is true?
All the historicity in the Bible, right? If you have all these things that are written down and you go to look at them, right? Put it up against anything else. Mormonism, right? Mormons believe that there was a giant
I don't believe Mormonism is true either.
I don't believe it either. But what I'm saying
is, why are you comparing it with something that we both don't think is real?
Because if you delve into religions and you delve into what is true and what is not,
I have. The historicity of the kinds of things accounted for in the Christian Bible are generally pretty
true.
Please, can you not interrupt? They're generally pretty consistent when it comes to talking about kings, when it comes to talking about, towns, when it comes to talking about perhaps
wars and historical
Wait, Veteran, do you have trouble with interrupting? I know I do.
No, I mean.
Okay, so can you stop then? Okay, so generally pretty good at accounting for wars and towns and kings, these kinds of things. But when it comes to the historical accounts of, like, I don't know, Moses existing, or the slaves leaving Egypt, or Jesus rising from the dead, or I don't know, feeding the 1,000, or feeding the 500, feeding the 1,000, I don't remember which one it was, or you know, Jonah actually being in a whale. Like, all of these things, we have no evidence that any of them happened.
Right. So about them finding chariots at the bottom of the Dead Sea.
They didn't. They found coral. No. You're believing
'Cause I
Ron
could've
Wyatt.
sworn I read something.
Yeah,
that
let me.
was produced.
So if you type in chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea, if you type that into Google, the first link that will pop up is from Reuters, or maybe it's from AP News. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I guess, okay, so you can look at chariots at the bottom chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea. Just type in AP News or something. You'll find it. Yeah, this is from March 6, 2018. I'll just put it up so everybody can see what I'm talking about. This is AP News. This is a reputable news site. False story says archaeologists unearth Exodus evidence. Archaeologists did not unearth the bones of Egyptian soldiers, weapons, and chariots to prove the biblical account of the parting of the Red Sea, despite the false claims of many stories reporting otherwise. A story first published by a satire site, World News Daily Report, and then picked up by many other outlets, claims scientists led by Professor Abdul Muhammad Gaider of Cairo University found the bones chariots in the Gulf of Suez. The university, blah, 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 blah. So this was a hoax. This was like, it wasn't a hoax, it was satire, and I guess you bought it.
Maybe so, but either way, that doesn't deny the faith and the historicity of the Bible, and it doesn't deny
it does. It shows that there's no historical record of, say, the Exodus.
I mean, that's not necessarily true because there's also historical.
Oh, now we're getting
Greek
some serious
and Hebrew
echo.
people that misinterpret the Sea of
What just happened?
Red Sea into the Sea of Reeds. So there's other archaeologists that even disagree with where they crossed. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So where's the historical evidence that an Exodus occurred?
But either way, the Exodus doesn't affect the death and resurrection.
Okay, where's the historical evidence that Jesus resurrected?
Our belief and our faith. The fact that
that's not historical evidence. That's not historical. Do you know what historical evidence is?
Like, what do you mean the shroud? Like, what do you want? Like something?
I want like some. I want like archaeological evidence.
He wiped his hands on something. Like
that'd be good.
You want like?
I want like or like, you know, if we had like a DNA sample from like Jesus like lying on a tomb or something, or if we had, you know, or if we had like an original manuscript written by, say, I don't know, please. Oh my God!
To try to give you faith.
Veteran.
Is that what you're like? You're asking us to give you faith?
Veteran.
Like what?
I'm just gonna have to mute you. So I'm asking for things like, are there any actual firsthand accounts that that we have, like written by the person who was making the firsthand account that Jesus rose from the dead? Are there any historic or archaeological artifacts that point to Jesus rising from the dead? Are there any of these things? Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, which?
Wrote most of the New Testament, right? Apostle Paul saw Jesus.
Oh my God, we're getting some
firsthand.
Horrible delay.
And the Apostle Paul needed Jesus to wipe the scales off his eyes.
I don't know what's happening, but something is going on with your audio. Yeah, your audio is like repeating itself like a fraction of a second afterwards. So are you on like Bluetooth or something?
Nah, I'm on the internet for iPhone. I clicked your link on YouTube and it led me to like Safari or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so delayed right now. Okay, go ahead. I think it's fine.
So my eyewitness account is Paul. Paul walked with Jesus. He was the opposition of Jesus. He wanted to kill Jesus until he ended up becoming blind. And that's the story of Paul, right? He was blinded, ended up going down by the River Jordan, and Jesus wiped away the scales off his eyes.
Wait a minute.
You know, and so that's when Paul
never met Jesus.
Right? Yes. Paul was with Jesus.
When did Paul meet Jesus?
When he was blinded. Paul was hunting him down, right?
So to be clear,
Paul was a heresy.
Paul's conversion happened after Jesus was already dead, right?
No.
Yeah.
Paul was blind before he was crucified. Paul was blinded, hunting Jesus down, and then he was told to go down to the River Jordan.
So maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that nowhere in the Bible does it say that Paul ever met Jesus while Jesus was alive.
Let me see it.
Like, I'm pretty sure. Like, Paul saw Jesus in a vision. At least that's the claim in, like, the book of Acts and the book in 1 Corinthians. But, like, no, he never met Jesus.
He was blind, and then he was healed by Jesus after he was risen. That's what it was.
Paul, you mean Paul was blinded by the vision?
Yes, Paul was blinded in general, and he needed to be healed by the resurrected Jesus. That's what happened.
I think you're
when you look at the conversion
confusing
of Paul,
him again.
right? No, when you look at the conversion of Paul, it says Paul was blinded on his road to Damascus.
Yeah, he was blinded because of the vision.
Yes, and he had to be baptized.
He was blinded because he had a vision of Jesus.
Yes, he was blinded.
And Jesus didn't fix him. Ananias did.
Okay, maybe. You might be right. But either way, back to my original question, what do you think faith is, right? Because I feel like a lot of this conversation is what is the definition of faith?
Yeah,
right? Like,
faith is a belief in something without faith is a belief in something without good reason to believe in it.
Okay, would you say that you have faith every day that you wake up? Would you say that you live your life in faith?
No.
Okay, and I will give you an example that you do live your life in faith. Every time you wake up in the morning, when you hit your light switch, do you have a single second where you're like, man, I really hope that this electricity turns on? When you flush your toilet, is there a moment
No,
where
I have
you
good
think,
reason to think
man,
that
I
it
really
will.
hope this toilet flushes?
Hold on, your delay is.
But there are people that live with faith.
Oh God,
that
it's so bad. The echo is so bad. It's like impossible to listen to. Sorry, I had to mute you to fix it. Try again.
Okay, so we have faith every day in everything that we do.
I don't know what's going on with the echo. It's just like impossible to understand you. I don't think it's on your end. I think it's on my end. I really need to fix this this link because the link doesn't always. This has been happening lately, and I don't know why.
Okay.
Let me see if I can fix something really quick.
Okay.
I don't know why there's an echo. I don't know what would. I wonder if I changed headphones, maybe that would fix it. Well, I'm not going to try to fix it now. Veteran Apologetics, I'm sorry. If you want to come back another time, feel free to do so. We can continue this conversation, but it's just like impossible to understand. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, sorry about that, man.
I'm just going to end it with, we all have faith in different things. Faith is belief in things that are unseen, but things hoped for, whether that's turning on the electricity, flushing our toilet, praying to God, we should do whatever we do without doubtness, in faith,
Yep. Well, thank you for being here, veterans. Sorry we can't continue.
It's all good. Thank you for what you do, man. Thanks for the open dialogue.
Yep.
And have a great day.
Take care. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I really need to fix this. I'll probably talk to Justin or something today. I think it might. I wonder if it has something to do with my VPN. Or maybe I'll start using. Actually, I have an idea. Maybe if I start using Google Chrome, maybe it'll work better. Well, I'll try that later. Not going to try it right now. Just do this really quick. Sorry, just trying to fix something really quick. All right, let's see if people can hear me. No, don't use camera. Just need to enable. This is so annoying. Okay. All right, it should hopefully work, but we'll just bring up a guest from TikTok for now. No, okay, it's not working. All right, we'll just talk to TikTok people for today. Peter Drid, how's it going?
Good afternoon, Doctor. Thank you for having me up. Hello.
How's it going? Are you doing okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Glad to hear it. So, Peter, do you believe in God?
Yes.
All right, and which one would that be?
The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Sorry, one more time?
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Okay, are you Jewish?
No.
Oh. Well, then now I'm a little confused, because that's usually... The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is usually, what Jewish people say.
I believe in the covenant of Abraham, which
Okay.
is a continuation up to Jesus.
Oh, so you're Christian. Okay, great. Yeah, okay. Why should I be Christian? Like, what would make me think that Christianity is true?
Well, the way I think the doctor, right, an apple falls from a tree, right?
Yeah?
Where did it have its being in the first place?
Where did it have its being? I don't really
Yes.
know what that means. I mean, it existed on a tree, and
Yes.
then it fell, and then it existed on the ground.
Okay. Where did the tree have its existence?
Usually trees grow out of the ground.
Yes. So take it back, all the way back. There's got to have been a starting point,
Why?
because the mathematical numbers for everything to have come together in the exact second it did is just and life started. So what's the
look,
on?
I'm just a little confused. I asked you why there has to have been a starting point, and then you said, like, the mathematical likelihood of, the things being this way. Like, that seems unrelated to the whole question of whether things had to have a start.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, look, whether or not things had a start is unrelated to whether or not things are, like, perfect, right?
No.
How are they related? I could imagine that things have a start and things are not perfect, or I can imagine that things are perfect and things didn't have a start.
But there's got. Do you not agree there has to be a starting point?
No, I don't.
For life, no. So how do you explain that then to me? Explain that to me.
Wait,
Why not?
I'm sorry, did you say a starting point to life?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I would say that there's probably a starting point for
Not
life,
just
at least in
to
our universe,
life
sure.
on Earth. To life on Earth.
Yeah, so, I mean, life started on Earth, approximately 4 billion years ago. The process is pretty well understood, perhaps not by me, but by biologists and chemists. It's, hasn't been reproduced in a lab in its entirety yet, but a lot of the pieces have been. So it just seems super plausible that, like, this process of, like, natural origination of life, it just seems reasonable.
Okay. See in your computer then, Doctor, right? This
Yep.
same question of what you're asking here comes up in the Bible, okay? And we'll not go through the full lot of it, but it's in the book of Job, chapter 38.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What about it?
And it if you look it up, man, if you can tell me the answers to these questions that God asks Job.
Well, I don't think that God's real, so I think that the
So, no,
questions are
well-
probably assuming God's real and therefore are ill-formed.
Okay, well, I'll ask you some of the questions then.
Okay.
It says, right, I'll not do the first bit. It says, who is this that darkens my counsel without words, without knowledge?
I don't know what that question means.
Well, I'm just speaking back to Job, God.
Well, look, so why don't you ask me questions rather than reading questions that
gonna.
are hard to understand?
Okay. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?
I don't think God did do that. I think the question's ill-posed.
Who determined its measurements?
I don't think God did that. I don't even know what it means for the universe to have measurements.
Where was the corners, the bases strung?
I'm sorry. Peter, are you just going to read Job to me?
No, I'm not going to. It's not just the job. It's just that God asks him the same kind of questions you're asking here.
I'm asking you to convince me to believe in your God.
Okay, right. Let's try another way. Okay. Moral law.
Okay, what about it?
Do you believe in moral law?
As in, do I believe that there's like some lawgiver that set down like a code book? No, I don't think so.
Okay. Do you believe in good or bad?
Yeah.
What do you base it on?
My attitudes.
What does that mean?
Like the values that I hold, things like that.
Well, I would say if there's no moral law, if there's no moral lawgiver, then there's no moral law.
Well, insofar as like a rule book, then yeah, that would be true. There wouldn't be a rule book. We have to figure it out for ourselves.
I don't think I mean, you have to have faith to believe in God, and if you've not got faith, then
look, so
you'll ever believe in
why
it.
Look, it sounds like your moral lawgiver just isn't that moral to begin with. I mean, your lawgiver told people to commit genocide.
Yes, but
how is that moral?
If you read into the history of the people he was saying, he always does things for the greater good.
What greater good was achieved by having the Amalekite children slaughtered?
Well, I don't mean to get thingy, but he's protecting a bloodline.
What does that mean? Is that worth killing children?
For the greater good, yes.
So what greater good was achieved?
Well, my belief is it's still playing itself out.
So you're just like, it was probably for the greater good. I don't know why, but it probably was. Is that your view?
No, it's just, I can't really repeat my views on air, to be honest with you, but it's got to do with the Jewish people and his protection of them. He made a covenant with them, and by all means he'll protect them.
Look, so that would be fine if this was like a defensive action where like the Jewish people or the Israelites, they were fighting off invaders or something. That's not what happened. God ordered them to just go to them and then kill all of the children and all of the women and all of the men and all of the donkeys and everything. It's not defensive. That doesn't involve protecting them.
Well, how can you explain then how a small family, like it explains in the Bible, how all the way through history and the things that's happened to them, that these things have been protected and have come through
look, I don't understand at all how protecting a people group has anything to do with ordering the genocide of the Amalekites.
Well, we'll agree to disagree in that, but I just say...
Okay, so in what way is doing a genocide protective?
Because I think that if I remember right, going back a bit now, these people, the kind of sexual practices they had, the kind of child sacrifices...
I'm sorry, what were the children doing that deserved to be slaughtered?
It's just the bloodline.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that the son is not supposed to be held guilty by the sins of the father.
That's true. Good point there. But I believe he's still working his purposes and his plan out. And
I mean, couldn't anybody say that then? Couldn't anybody who says, "Oh, I heard God speak to me and he ordered me to commit this genocide," couldn't anybody say that? And then you'd have to be like, "Oh, well, we can't check because maybe it is for God's greater purpose."
No,
and yet you're okay with it. You're okay with it in the book.
No, of course I'm not okay with it.
So then the God that set the moral ground rules isn't moral?
Yes, he probably is. He always does. My belief is he always done things for the greater good.
Including genocide.
Well, if that's what it meant to bring this through, yes.
And it sounds like you're telling me that you don't think that this God could achieve the greater good without the genocide.
Yes.
Doesn't sound like your God is all powerful. I guess there's something he can't do.
Well, how else would you say he could achieve it?
You haven't even told me what he's trying to achieve.
What he's trying to achieve is a perfect creation in the future.
Yeah, so why does that require the Amalekites being genocided?
Sin.
The babies?
Yeah.
The babies were sinning? Oh yeah, the babies, you know, they robbed the store down the street. Oh yeah, the babies, they were committing adultery. These are babies.
And I know it's horrible and it's stung me, but
Yeah, it is horrible. Anybody who would ever command that, I would never want to listen to anything they ever commanded. That's horrible.
it is horrible and it's in the past, and thank God we don't live in those days just now. And
I agree, Peter. Peter,
but
if God sent you a message that you should grind up some babies and make hamburgers out of them, would you do it?
no,
But it's for the greater good.
well, in the Old Testament, God's judge. He was a God of judgment, but thank God for grace.
Well, no, I mean, God told the Israelites to go do the thing that God wanted them to do, to go slaughter all of the babies and the women and the children and the men and the cows and the donkeys. So if God told you to do that, would you do it, or would you sin, unlike the Israelites?
I don't believe he would ask me to do that.
Well, he asked the Israelites to do it, or he may as well have.
Well, I'll bless those who bless you, and I'll curse those who curse you. That's part of
I
his
don't know
covenant.
what that has to do with anything. Look, he asked the Israelites to slaughter children. Why wouldn't he ask you to do the same?
Because Jesus.
Because Jesus?
Yes.
Sorry, does God change?
Well, yeah, when Jesus came in, then the new covenant was established. A period of grace was brought in.
So you're telling me that God changes?
No, his covenant didn't change.
No, I mean the characteristics, the properties of God. Does he change?
His covenant, it would be, I would need to look more into what his covenant is.
Does God's nature change?
I don't believe he's got a nature, to be honest with you.
You don't think he has a nature?
No.
So when I say nature, I just mean characteristics, like intrinsic characteristics. You don't think that he has those?
No.
Okay, you don't think that God has characteristics?
No, I think when all this started, life on earth and that, in his infinite wisdom.
Oh, that sounds like a characteristic. Infinite wisdom sounds like a characteristic.
He brought it into play at the very beginning. As soon as the earth life started, then he's got it all planned out. Don't forget, in the Bible it teaches 1,000 years is a day to the Lord, and a day is 1,000 years. So
okay, and there is not a leap year every 400 years.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that, every 4 years you're supposed to have a leap year, except on the 400th year you're not supposed to have a leap year. I thought we were just saying things that were unrelated to the conversation.
No, you're bringing mathematics and that into it, and human wisdom.
Yeah, so to be clear, do you think that God has characteristics?
I believe love, joy, peace, patience,
Love,
kindness.
right. Is it loving to tell the Israelites to kill the Amalekites?
Yes, for the greater good. Yes.
It's loving. So ordering the massacre of children, loving. You would call that loving?
When he's protecting his people, yes.
He wasn't protecting them. He told them to go seek them out, to go find them and kill them.
Well, thank God Jesus brought in a period of grace then, eh?
Let me ask you this, Peter. If you
Yes.
were an Israelite, 2,500 years ago, and you got the word from the prophet that God told you to go slaughter the Amalekites, including the babies, would you do it?
100%.
And so why wouldn't you do it now?
Because Jesus.
Because Jesus. Okay, so for some reason you're willing to commit like horrible, heinous war crimes and genocides before Jesus, but you're not willing to after Jesus?
Yes, he ushered in a period of grace.
But if God ordered the same thing now, what changed?
But if you read the New Testament, it teaches you that we're in a different, we're in the period of grace.
So, when did this start?
Grace. On the
Yeah,
cross.
when?
The cross. The crucifixion, when Jesus was crucified.
And so you're telling me that God would never, condemn people or smite people after that?
Yeah.
What do you make of God doing exactly that when Ananias, the priest, was smitten by God after Jesus died?
I would need to look, honestly, I would need to look up that in my book and do a wee bit of further study.
Yeah, okay. So to be clear, this is in Acts 5.
Okay.
So Ananias and Sapphira. We can just go find the verse if you want.
Yes, I do know. I know the verse you're talking about. Yes.
And so Ananias was
blasphemed against the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. So God still apparently does smiting even after Jesus died, right?
No, that's one of the things he says. But anybody that blasphemes against the Holy Spirit,
right? So it's not like God doesn't enact judgment anymore. It's not like we're in a period of grace. He still does it.
That was one of his things. If anyone blasphemes against the Holy Spirit, they won't be forgiven.
So you are telling me that God still does the whole smiting thing?
No. I believe it, for what you're talking about with that thing, when it was just to be wrote down for a warning to people.
So, Acts chapter 5, verse 4, while it remained unsold, this is talking about Ananias. We can read a little bit earlier from verse 3. But Peter said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and to keep back for yourself part of the proceeds of the land? While it remained unsold, did it not remain your own? And after it was sold, was it not at your disposal? Why is it that you have contrived this deed in your heart? You have not lied to man, but to God. When Ananias heard these words, he fell down and breathed his last. Like, literally, after Jesus died, Ananias got smitten. He got smote even.
That's a warning, don't blaspheme the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, so God is still capable of smiting people, right? Even after Jesus died.
Yes, if you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, well.
Okay, so look. So if God comes up to you, if God reveals himself to you in a dream or in a vision, that your next door neighbors, their entire family line, the parents, the grandparents, the great-grandparents, their entire family line is filled with blasphemers. And, in order to stop this bloodline of blasphemy, he orders you to go turn the entire household, including the babies, into paste, to grind them up and make hamburgers out of them. Would you do it?
No, because that's just been silly.
But I mean, blasphemy, you can't blaspheme against the Lord, otherwise you get smitten.
No, the Holy Spirit.
Sorry, well, isn't the Holy Spirit also God?
Well, yes, and in the Trinity as part of God, yes.
Yeah, so if you can't blaspheme and God has chosen you to enact his smiting, you wouldn't do it?
Say that again slowly.
Yeah, okay. So God comes to you in a vision. He tells you, hey, your next door neighbors, they've been blaspheming against the Holy Spirit for generations. And it's come time for me to put an end to that blasphemous family line. and I have chosen you to enact my justice. So I command thee, Peter Drid, go and smite the entire family of blasphemers that live next door to you. Kill the grandparents and the parents and the children, so that they shall never blaspheme again. Would you do it?
No, because the teaching, if you read a wee bit further, it says, "Vengeance is mine, and I shall repay it," declares the Lord.
Sorry, one more time?
There's another part that says, "Vengeance is mine, declares the Lord, and I shall repay it."
Yeah, and so sometimes God does this. Sometimes God does this where he will choose somebody, or a people group even, to enact his vengeance, right? He did this with the Israelites a lot.
That's the Old Testament. But in this period of grace that we're living in just now, we've got time to repent, we've got time to come to him. And there'll be a day of judgment for us all. Whether we like it or not, there will be a day of judgment for us all.
So you're telling me, you're telling me no, you're telling me even if God commanded you to do it, you wouldn't do it?
I know he wouldn't command me. Because
it's a hypothetical. If God commanded you to do it, would you do it?
I'm not going to answer that. It's just hypothetical. Because
it is a hypothetical. You should be able to engage intellectually honestly with a hypothetical.
I'm not going to try and speak on behalf of God, because I know...
I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of God. I'm asking, if God did this, would you obey?
But he wouldn't ask me. I know he wouldn't ask me, so...
Yeah, so what if he did?
I know he wouldn't.
I know you know he wouldn't. I'm asking, what if he did, though?
I'd pray about it. I'd go to my...
You'd pray about it, and then God would answer, yeah, I'm telling you to do this.
I wouldn't. I know he wouldn't.
In the hypothetical, he is doing that, though.
No, I wouldn't do it.
In the hypothetical, he is.
No, he wouldn't.
So you're telling me that... So wait a minute. So are you telling me... So if I said, hey, if you went back in time and you could have stopped Hitler right before he rose to power, you wouldn't say, yeah, I would do it. You would say, yeah, but I didn't go back in time. But what if you did go back in time? Oh, but I didn't go back in time. Yeah, but what if you did go back in time, but I didn't? I didn't go back in time.
Again, vengeance is mine, and I shall repay it, declares the Lord. Doctor, can I ask you one thing? But I need to go soon. I want to ask you one thing. I know I've listened to you a few times. I know you're quite an intelligent man.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Right. I was driving up the motorway the other week there, right? And I seen these big windmills.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realise that they were powered by diesel generators.
Wind farms
yes.
are not powered by diesel generators.
Well, in Scotland, they are. There's diesel engines, believe it or not.
I don't think that they are. Are wind farms powered by diesel generators or by diesel engines in Scotland? I don't believe you.
Being honest with you, I couldn't believe it myself. Anyway, this is what I want to ask you.
Okay.
See these windmills. See mathematically using water, magnets, and ball bearings. Would it be possible to set these 4 windmill things so they were producing energy?
Oh, okay. Hold on. I looked this up and I found out what's going on. So, Scottish Power, I guess, is a power company that you guys have.
Yes.
So 71 of its windmills were hooked up to diesel generators because they had to keep the turbines warm during very cold weather in December. This is basically a maintenance thing. You have to keep it spinning, otherwise it could break. So yeah, okay, I can understand that.
Okay. Now, did you get what I said about the water, ball bearings, and magnets?
No, I didn't get that at all.
Do you think you could set these things in a certain way so that it just kept spinning using the weight of the water?
No.
The magnets? Well, I think you could, but you would need somebody like yourself to work out all the mathematics here.
I don't think you can. But thank you for being here, Peter. Have a good one. That was a crazy conversation. Y'all who are saying that he's like, you know, he shouldn't be allowed up here because he's Scottish, he should be allowed up here. Scottish people are allowed to exist. They've been fighting, or they fought the British for so long, they earned that right. All right, let's read some super chats and we'll bring up another guest. So we have from Tim Bimbadil, caller should consult an ontologist. Yeah, caller absolutely should consult an ontologist. Ontology is a very important field of study. From Interstate 5, thank you for the $5, Interstate 5. Where did Thea come from? Was it in the inner solar system? Was it from the Oort cloud? What did you think of the Man from Mars movies or Interstellar? So Thea was probably just in a different orbit, like a slightly different orbit. Not the British, I'm sorry, the English, I should say, not the British, because the Scottish are British. It was just in a nearby orbit, that's all. I didn't see The Man from Earth, but I did like Interstellar. Dank Bird Gang, thank you for the $2. Paul Messiah Hunter would go crazy. It would, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be great? Duka Shaska with the €2. Oh, a live stream. Hi, who's winning? Well, I don't know. I'll leave that up to you to judge. $20. Thank you so much from your hot new girlfriend. Hashtag Coach Jesus. I appreciate that a lot. Let's get a W for at your hot new girlfriend in the chat if we can. And then from $5 from Might You Find It Interesting. In the beginning, God said Maxwell's equations. Also, what mic do you use? So this is called a HyperX Quadcast. It's pretty good. It's pretty affordable. It's like $120 or something like that. But yeah, the meme that God said Maxwell's equations. Well, maybe we should just be thanking Maxwell instead of God then, right? And from the Nightly Gamer with the $67. Thank you so much, the Nightly Gamer. Let's get a W for the Nightly Gamer too. That's a lot. That's a huge donation. Thank you. If there are moral standards independent of God's will, then there is something over which God is not sovereign. God is bound by the laws of morality instead of being the establisher. Yeah, so this is called the Euthyphro dilemma, or it's closely related to the Euthyphro dilemma anyway. The Euthyphro dilemma being, you know, is God good because he says so, or is God good because he does good, or he is good? Like, is there a goodness that God is that's separate from him, or is goodness just whatever God says is good? That's roughly what the Euthyphro dilemma is, and it's a serious question. All right, let's bring up another guest. Let's bring up Laeth Main.
Hello, hello.
Laeth, how's it going?
Well, it's going really well.
Glad to hear it. Do you believe in God, Laeth?
Yes, I do. I am a Muslim, and
Okay.
I believe that science and belief at some point they not only cross, but they really meet and intertwine.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, what would you say is the most compelling argument for the truth of Islam?
The most compelling argument is, first of all, if you hear about the ontological argument, which is not a proof, but is a standalone, closed, kind of axiomatic proof of how a god of Islam, for example, can be true and logical.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to lay it out for me?
Yeah. Well, the ontological proof is linguistically, or in a word description, would say define a positive attribute that humans could agree on. You will see it in innate behavior of children, for example. Let's say truth. Then take that positive infinity to positive trait to infinity, and you will have an absolutely truthful entity out there. And continue. Go. What is power? It should be positively, infinitely powerful. And it should give you an idea of that evil is limited. It cannot go to minus, like infinite evil doesn't exist in such an axiomatic system. Because the creation is finite. Even if you go like fully evil, you cannot go infinitely evil with an finite.
Then how can you go? How can you go infinitely good?
You can create many, because he's a creative. Creative is infinite positive trait. You can create many universes. It's up to you.
Couldn't a infinitely evil creator just create infinitely many evil universes?
But why would he do? He's infinitely good.
Well, what if he's infinitely evil?
Choice.
It just seems like you're saying that you can't have infinite evil, but it seems like if I just replace the word good in all of your sentences with evil, then you get the same effect.
No, the thing about the ontological proof by Gödel, for example, it has no inconsistencies. It's completely, perfectly fine. Here's where the issue is.
Not having inconsistencies doesn't mean that the argument is sound, by the way.
Well, it at least shows you there is a logical way to think of God. So this is what
if you grant the premises, then which you haven't laid out, by the way, like it'd be really helpful if you could lay out the premises. But if you grant the premises, then yeah, the conclusion follows. If it's a valid form of argumentation, that doesn't mean that the premises are true, though.
Yes, this is what I'm trying to pinpoint. Is that okay? We have a separate floating kind of axiomatic system of the ontological argument by Gödel, and we have incompleteness 1 and 2 by Gödel, where our algebra.
Hold on, just to be clear, the version of the ontological argument that you've offered is not the ontological argument that Gödel offers. No, it's completely different.
No. The word description of it will go like that.
No, it wouldn't. It has nothing to do with the way that humans perceive things as good. It never says anything about evil.
It has nothing to do with anybody.
It doesn't say anything about any of those. So Gödel's ontological argument has some serious issues. Namely, it defines God to be a good. It defines being godlike to be a good property. And I could pull up the argument, but there's another serious issue with one of its axioms.
Within its axioms, it has no contradiction, and what is what I'm trying to tell you.
The axioms look, maybe you're not understanding my point. If you grant the axioms, then sure, the conclusion is true. Yes. But why would I grant the axioms?
This is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. And the cutoff, there's like a gap between incompleteness 1 and 2 and the ontological argument.
So they're completely unrelated arguments, by the way.
Well, yeah, they're very different from each other, and this is where it gets inviting to do the bridge between them. You see.
Wait a minute, hold on. We need to back up. You said that you were going to offer me the strongest argument or the strongest evidence that you could present, right?
Yes.
And the argument that you've presented is a strange version of the ontological argument. But if you're going to say that this is the strongest evidence, then you need to defend the premises. You can't just say the argument is valid and then say, "Aha, well, that's a compelling argument." Like that's not what a compelling argument makes.
I didn't say my argument yet, Dr. Blitz.
Okay, so then why'd you bring up the ontological argument if that's not your argument?
This is referencing. This is what was done. Previously, this is what was done.
Okay, well, I want to know what the argument that you're offering is. I don't want to hear about other arguments that you're not offering.
All right. So here's the argument. We have you stop me always at incompleteness. So incompleteness 2 is used actually polynomials, and it shows that even within algebra we will have problems that are unsolvable.
Sure.
Undecidable.
Yep.
Like
undecidable given a certain set of axioms. Yeah.
Yeah, like the algebra itself doesn't matter. Algebra is the core of math. So if you go to even
there are polynomials for whom that we can write down explicitly that depend on ZF or ZFC, and we cannot determine what the roots of that polynomial are within ZFC. That's true.
Yes, for example, a known polynomial that is extremely famous is the Riemann zeta, or the Riemann hypothesis.
That's not a polynomial.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. It's an infinite product.
Look at it. It's an infinite sum. You can form it in an infinite product, which is a polynomial.
Yeah, so polynomials are by definition finite.
Okay, what do you call x minus 1 plus x minus 2? That's a polynomial of second degree. Yeah, you can write the Riemann zeta.
That's a polynomial of first degree, but the Riemann zeta function
second
is
second degree.
You didn't say x squared, did you?
Minus 1, x
minus 1. This is a product. Okay, this is a product.
2.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, but that's finite. A polynomial by definition is finite. The Riemann zeta function is not It's not a finite polynomial.
Yeah, it's an infinite multiplicative or infinite sum.
Right, which means that it's not a polynomial.
Yeah.
It's not a polynomial.
But you can multiply. You can write it in the infinite multiplication form,
but
which is
still not a polynomial.
That's a polynomial.
A polynomial by definition has finite order.
Check it out, please. No,
I can assure you, a polynomial has finite order.
Check it out. What is the solution of a polynomial? Again, it's x minus.
Look, you're just confused here. A polynomial has finite degree, finite order. You are.
Okay, tell me what is a polynomial, solutions wise.
A polynomial is. I mean, we can describe it.
There you go. That's zeta. It's infinite.
I didn't even answer the question.
Go ahead.
Be in good
Go
faith.
ahead.
So the way that you can intuitively understand a polynomial is some finite sum of some number of powers of variables. So you could have any finite number of any finite power, integer power of variables, composed with addition, subtraction, multiplication, and that's it.
Yeah, if you allow me, I will open my camera.
Over some field.
Yeah, I will talk with math, on a board, if that's all right.
I can't. I won't be able to see any of this. Look, a polynomial has to have a finite number of terms. It doesn't seem like it's super relevant.
It is.
But like, what's the actual? Can you actually present the argument?
Why are you struggling with me to let me finish a sentence?
I just want you to present the argument.
I'm trying.
Okay, please do it.
Swear to God, voila. Okay, now we have a third degree polynomial will be x minus a times x minus b times x minus c. So an infinite polynomial will be x minus a with subscript I, with the multiplication goes from 0 or 1 as you choose to infinity. How you define your coefficients. Now,
that's not a polynomial.
That's zeta. That's a polynomial within the solution form.
Okay, hold on.
What the hell?
I guess I just have to show you this.
Yeah, show me that.
Okay, can you see this? This is Wikipedia. I'm sure that Wikipedia is fine because definitions of a polynomial are fine. In mathematics, a polynomial is a mathematical expression consisting of indeterminates, also called variables, and coefficients that involves only the operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and exponentiation to non-negative integer powers and has finite number of terms.
Yeah.
The Riemann zeta function is not a polynomial. It doesn't have a finite number of terms.
The infinite polynomial.
There are no infinite polynomials.
Write it down. Why did you stop at polynomial? That's it. That's a polynomial. I'm talking about the infinite polynomial.
Polynomials are by definition not infinite. Like.
Right. Hold on. You will not
Why are
be
you
able
fighting
to
on me?
see
This is like a standard definition.
Oh, well, you're denying it. This is probably the worst case of denial I've ever seen. I know.
Yes, I'm denying the standard definition of polynomials because you think that the Riemann zeta function is a polynomial.
You can define it in many ways. What is a polynomial? It's a group of solutions multiplied by each other. So why are
No,
you,
that's not what a polynomial is.
All right.
A polynomial is a particular finite set of operations combined or composed together. Like that's what a polynomial is.
Well, this is a polynomial, right? Let's say 6. Okay, this is a polynomial.
Yes, that's a polynomial.
You agree with me, right? So what is this? Plus 2.
By the way, I swear, if this isn't relevant, if whether or not the Riemann zeta function is a polynomial is not relevant for your argument, I'm gonna drop you.
Are they the same or not? Not the same, but
I can't really see them. They're small and blurry.
Well, some coefficient here, a. All right, this is x squared.
X squared plus 6x plus a.
Plus a.
And then I mean, they're obviously not the same. One depends on a, the other doesn't.
You can factor a polynomial or not. You're being an asshole right now. Can you factor a polynomial this way or not?
Of course, you can always factor. You can always factor a polynomial through its solutions. That doesn't mean that it can be infinite.
A third degree will have 3 terms, right? 3 terms.
Yes, and that doesn't mean that you can have an infinite number of solutions.
An infinite.
I muted you, by the way. This crash out is wild. Like, this is just like a standard definition of what a polynomial is. There are no infinite polynomials.
Faking science. You're faking science on live now.
This is like a crazy crash out. Like just open up a standard algebra book.
You know what is a polynomial.
Yeah, a polynomial is a finite order object.
See how we look like? This is how we look like. You look like a fool.
This is a crazy crash out. Hi, YouTube.
We don't know.
I'll see you guys on YouTube.
Anymore? You don't know a polynomial anymore? You don't know? You forgot?
Sorry, I'm just writing this down.
Yeah, just cough. Finish coughing.
No, I wasn't coughing. I was laughing. Yeah. So, does this have anything to do with God?
That is how I teach my kids, by the way. Okay.
Does this have anything to do with God? Yeah, I already read you the definition of a polynomial.
Yes, it has. You can write axioms in polynomial form too. How about that?
Sure, I'd believe that.
Why? It's not a polynomial, right? Then you can write axioms in zeta form.
So you can express essentially, as long as you have a dictionary for how to identify what certain symbols mean, you can often express any proposition as a polynomial. Like that's a thing that's, I think actually Gödel came up with that.
Alhamdulillah. So Riemann zeta could explain the axioms in infinite form. So
The
we can really predict
Riemann
the
zeta is not a
whole field of math.
polynomial. We've been over this. The Riemann zeta function is not a polynomial.
I'm not over this. You're really scandling yourself. I can't believe it. You're a doctor.
Do you need me to open up a textbook showing you that a polynomial has a finite number of terms?
Write it on Google, infinite polynomial. I'll write it for you if you want.
Here, let me just open up a textbook for you.
Write it, infinite polynomial. Just write it.
I'm actually not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to open up a textbook for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, do I have my abstract algebra textbook? If I do, then I don't need to go download it. Let's see.
Don't download anything. Just use Google like you did with the other one.
Well, no, I know. I'm trying to pull up a textbook for you so that you can learn what a polynomial is.
Oh, thank
Because
you
apparently
so
you need to learn what a polynomial is.
I needed this scandal to show that actually atheists just deny God, even when it's in front of them. They will deny that what is a polynomial. I don't know what it is.
Okay, so I don't have my abstract algebra textbook, but we can pull up this. We can pull up this book. This is a book by Beauregard. Yeah, by Raymond Beauregard and John Fraley. We can pull up this book. We can see if we can find a copy of it.
I'll make it short for you. Just open the Lagrange program, okay, and see what it does with physics and what does it have to do with God.
Sorry, are you going to make your argument or no?
You don't know what is a polynomial. What argue about?
I can assure you I know what a polynomial is. Okay, let's go to page 153.
All right, so
You're going to page 153. Don't worry. Oh,
Go ahead.
Never mind. I don't have access to this book. It's not freely available.
Well, I have access to this website, and it's we can agree it's a good one. It's called LibriTexts, so it has a book.
Yeah. So
LibriTexts
definition of, why don't we just do this, of polynomial?
Infinite polynomial. Why
Type
are
that
you
into
mixing
Google.
It's a different term. Oh, this is a play with game with words. I swear to God, I can't believe it. I thought you would have a real discussion. Yeah, I don't see that. This is not a real discussion. Polynomials, there are two things. There's polynomials and there's infinite polynomials. Two definitions.
So we agree that the Riemann zeta function is not a polynomial?
All right, what is the Riemann zeta function? Do you know what it is?
It's an analytic function. Well, I guess it's meromorphic because it has poles.
Yeah, is this the Riemann zeta function? In multiplicative
It's hard to
form?
see. It's hard to see.
Yeah, can you just...
So the Riemann zeta function is a meromorphic function. Now, look,
I'll copy it here.
Is this going to have something to do with God, please?
Yes, axioms.
Okay, can you make the argument then? Can you just present the argument, please?
Yeah. Okay, so here's the argument. I will make it easy for you. Okay, sorry for shouting at you. Sometimes under pressure you forget what are things. It's all right. It happens even with me. Now you can write. This is the multiplicative thing there. Okay, so. You can write axioms in this form, where lambda is the operator. You see, it's an eigen problem now. It's a polynomial. Now this is a polynomial, and you can write it from 1 to infinity. It will be an infinite polynomial. Now what is this? This is also the
You could just call it an infinite product if you want, by the way.
Yeah. This is the Riemann zeta. You can write it in this form where lambda equals 1. Okay, that's Riemann zeta. Now. To show you a reference for that.
Wait, no, that's not the Riemann zeta has a different expression. But anyway, okay. Actually, it doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm not going to get bogged down. I'm not going to get bogged down in your mistakes. It's fine. Make your argument.
No worries. But anyways, you can write Riemann zeta in this form. You can find what is lambda. I thought it's 1. Maybe it's something else. Good. It's something else.
Yeah, it's something else.
All right.
But go ahead.
All right. But this is the Riemann zeta, and it is the infinite polynomial. They're the same thing. All right. But you have to change lambda. Okay, now this one also you can describe with the z and the lambda and another coefficient maybe here. You could really put your axiom system, like let's say Aristotelian logic, formal logic, or informal logic too, by some manipulation of this. Okay, so
what's the argument for God?
Somewhere here. Yeah, you can express the ontological proof here. And the infinite positives, you can express them with algebra itself. Now, where is incompleteness is when you have a finite polynomial, because it tells you have to be able to read the code or the algorithm that you're reading to be incomplete.
No, you can have finite polynomials that still don't have known solutions under a given set of axioms.
That's all right. But that's
so
all right.
no. I mean the incompleteness theorem. The incompleteness theorem has nothing to do with polynomials being finite versus polynomials being infinite, even though there are no infinite polynomials.
Yes. This is where the extension comes. Incompleteness theory tells you from its polynomial proof that there will be polynomials you cannot solve because you have more than 5 degrees and other
that has nothing to do with incompleteness, by the way.
Really?
Polynomials of
Are you
not being able.
serious?
Yeah, that has to do
Well,
with
you
Galois
muted
theory.
field. Sorry. This is called incompleteness theory.
No, that's not called incompleteness.
It has to do with Galois. Okay, it has to do with Galois.
That's Galois theory. That has nothing to do with incompleteness.
The group theory has to do with zeta, and zeta has to do with infinite polynomials. They are all related.
So the lack of ability to find to solve algebraically for some quintics has absolutely nothing to do with Gödel's incompleteness.
Yeah. What if it was 6 degrees? Can you solve it analytically?
It's true for any degree, or it's true for some polynomials with any degree greater than or equal to 5.
Do you have an algorithm for solving a 6 degree?
I'm sorry, did you hear me?
Predict an algorithm.
I'm sorry, did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you. But
okay, what did I say? Because I answered your question.
You said this 5 years can solve it, whatever. But 6
no, you didn't hear me then, because I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, can you predict an algorithm? All right, go ahead, say it again.
Yeah, so what I said is that for any polynomial or for any degree greater than or equal to 5, there are going to be some polynomials that you cannot solve using strictly algebraic means.
Yeah,
you cannot solve it through roots and through other algebraic expressions or algebraic operators.
Yes,
that has nothing. That has absolutely nothing to do with incompleteness.
So any algorithm you have will not be decidably giving you a solution. In
no, it has not. To be clear, this has nothing to do with decidability. This has nothing to do with any of that. This has to do with algebraic solvability. You can absolutely construct an algorithm. Okay, I have to mute you again because this is embarrassing for you. There's absolutely an algorithm that you can use to find the roots of any polynomial to any degree of accuracy that you want. However, it just does not necessarily. For polynomials of degree 5 or greater, you can't necessarily express an algorithm that involves only the 4 fundamental operations, plus, minus, multiplication and division, exponentiation, and not exponentiation, and taking roots. Those are the only. It's just for degrees greater than or equal to 5. Your algorithm must include something extra beyond that, but it has absolutely nothing to do with incompleteness.
Well, listen, God doesn't need people. People need him. In the end, if you believe a polynomial or not.
What's your argument for the existence of God?
I'm saying that if you feel that God needs you, he doesn't.
That was your argument this whole time? You wasted how much time did you waste? You wasted 20 minutes going on and being wrong about polynomials and Galois theory, only to say God doesn't need you? That's so embarrassing for you.
I thought you needed God. Convince me. Why are you lying? You don't need the convincing. I gave you the
embarrassing
argument.
for you.
You don't even remember polynomials. You don't want to be convinced.
I read you the definition of what a polynomial is.
Compound ignorance. You see the proof, you deny it. You want to see it from Microsoft. You want them to be the gods. That's what you want, right? You want to see it from Willow. The plagiarizers. Check who did it. Go check ResearchGate. Go. Yalla. God doesn't like you. Doesn't need you. If you need him, he will like you. Period. Bye.
There's the crash out. Hi YouTube. That was good. That is going on the list. All right, let's talk to another guest. Just double checking. Oh, we have some super chats to read. Dr. Fudge with the $5. The Scottish windmill story was actually apparently a bit of a scandal by my reading. If the explanation is accurate, those upset were tilting at windmills. That's funny. But also, thank you for the $5, Dr. Fudge. From Germs Rosselino, thank you for the $2. Holy Dunning-Kruger. Yeah, so I don't know if that guy had a math degree or not. I suspect he doesn't. So look, infinite polynomials, it's not really a thing. Polynomials by definition have finite order and have finite degree. But people often use the phrase infinite polynomial to refer to things that are not polynomials. They use them to refer to like power series, for example. All right, let's talk to Angelic Baby. Hello. Angelic Baby, how's it going?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Do you believe in a god, Angelic Baby?
Yeah, I do.
And which god would that be?
I'm Catholic.
Okay, and so what would you say is like the most compelling argument or reason or evidence or explanation that you could give me that I would be more likely to think Catholicism is true?
Well, I guess I'm going to do a version of like a cosmological argument. I
Sure.
know that you get a bunch of the cosmological arguments all the time on this live, so but I think I've been working on an argument for it that's a little bit um clearer, I guess. I don't know.
Sure, go ahead.
So my first step would be to say that every contingent thing has a cause or explanation.
One sec, let me write this down, just so that I
yeah.
don't. So then we can keep track of things. Actually, I'm gonna write it down, and then everybody else will be able to see it too.
Yeah.
Nope, wrong thing. There we go. Here we go. Okay, so we have P1. Go ahead.
All contingent things have a cause, where I'm using cause, where cause is understood as metaphysical or counterfactual dependence.
Okay, sure.
And then premise 2, the physical universe, which I'm defining as all of physical reality, is a contingent thing.
Okay.
And then the conclusion will be, therefore, the universe has a cause.
Mm-hmm.
The next premise will be, if something is a cause, then that thing exists. From there, I'll deduce, therefore, the cause of the physical universe exists. 4 will be, nothing is the cause of itself. Causes are ontologically prior to their effects. And then the next conclusion that I would deduce from that is, therefore, the cause of the physical universe is ontologically distinct from the physical universe. Okay, just a few more. 5 is, whatever exists does so either contingently or necessarily. The next one is, the cause of the physical universe exists either contingently or necessarily. I guess that one's kind of redundant, but if the cause of the physical universe exists contingently, then the exists.
Sorry, this is P6. What's P6?
P6. Where are we? Whether it exists. So P6 is, the cause of the physical universe exists either contingently or necessarily. If the cause of the physical universe exists contingently, then the existence of an infinite chain of contingent things would need to be explained. Then the next premise would be, the existence of an infinite chain of contingent things cannot be explained.
Whoa, slow down there, partner. All right, so so this is actually a conclusion. And then we have P6. If the cause of the physical universe exists contingently, then the cause of the physical things would need to be explained. Okay.
The infinite chain.
If the cause of the infinite chain
of contingent things would need to be explained.
Wait a minute, hold on. So P6 is, if the cause of the physical universe exists contingently,
mm-hmm.
Then the cause of the
oh yeah, I guess
we don't have infinite chains yet.
Yeah, I'm skipping that step, I guess. So then you would have to explain that thing itself would be contingent, and then I mean I think that it would imply an infinite chain of contingent things, you know.
Okay, so and then so you say that if the cause of the physical universe exists contingently, then that cause requires an explanation. Conclusion. Well, yeah. So what's the conclusion here? What's the next premise?
So then you would need to explain that. Wait, if the cause of the physical universe exists contingently, then the cause requires an explanation. That would lead you to a infinite chain of contingent things, and you would need
not necessarily. You could just have the universe is caused by something contingent, which is caused by something not contingent, right?
No, but then by premise 1, that thing itself would be contingent.
Look, so if the universe is caused by B and B is contingent, but B is caused by A and A is not contingent, then there's no issue.
Right, but then that thing couldn't be it would either be contingent or necessary.
Yeah, the A would not be contingent, so it would be necessary.
Right, and so then you would choose that there's a necessary cause of the universe.
Well, the cause of the universe would still be contingent, right? It's just the cause of the universe is caused by something necessary. Like you could have like you could have like a step between the necessary thing and the universe, right?
The necessary thing and the universe. Yeah, you could have a step between the necessary thing and then the universe. It's just that the intermediary thing would be contingent.
Yeah.
It's that you would need to necessarily
So
put you
look,
would
I know
need to
what you're trying to say.
posit
We
the,
want P7 something conclusion. Then you, if you have an infinite chain of contingent explanations, then that infinite chain of contingent explanations requires an explanation. Something like this, right?
Yeah.
Now we
Something
could
like
fill
that.
in. It's actually like not super clear how to go from P6 to the conclusion, but I know what you mean, so we can just skip that. And
Yeah.
so then you say, so then you say something like conclusion. Therefore, therefore the chain of causation must terminate at a necessary thing. Something like this?
Yeah.
Can you call that
Yeah,
going?
something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this. I appreciate you for being super explicit here. So
Yeah, I tried to make it as simple as possible, but it's also like it's so much information. It's kind of
so
hard,
look,
yeah.
there's a few questions here that I mean,
Yeah.
like I would push back on, like I could push back on P2.
Mhm.
I could push back on P1. I guess P3 is probably fine. I'm skipping over the conclusions because if this is valid, I mean, except perhaps this at the very end. But if this is valid, which it is, then I can only push back on the premises. Nothing is the cause of itself. By this you mean that there is not a thing that causes itself, not that this thing called nothing is the cause of itself,
saying,
right?
Yeah, it's like no thing.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. We want no thing. That's fine. P5, whatever exists, does so either contingently or necessarily. That's probably fine. We need to talk about what you mean by contingent, but that's okay for now. P6, if the cause of the universe exists contingently, then that cause requires an explanation. Okay, sure. So if we grant the other stuff, that's fine. So really we wanted. So first, I want to understand what you mean by contingent.
Yeah, so by contingent, I'm using it as a modal distinction, meaning that if it could have failed to exist in another possible world.
Okay, that's fine. So, okay, so that's what you mean by contingent, sure. So now, why should I accept P1?
I think that you should accept P1 because I think it's pretty understood that if something is contingent, then it could have not existed in a different world, right?
That's true.
Yeah. And there has to be a cause or explanation for why that thing did not exist or does exist.
Why?
Because then it would be arbitrary to say that something is contingent.
Okay. Well, no, it wouldn't be arbitrary. It would just mean that there's a possible world where it is this way and a possible world where it isn't this way. That's not arbitrary.
But then there would be a difference between the two worlds.
Yeah.
And it's that difference that would explain why something is existing contingently.
So the difference is that it exists in one and doesn't exist in the other. Presumably, so you say cause here, and by cause you mean metaphysical or counterfactual dependence. But suppose that there is no dependence. Do you just mean it depends on the world in which it's in? Because that's a very strange notion of dependence, where it depends on typically the worlds are defined by what's in them, right? So it would be very confusing to say that a thing depends on the world that it's in.
So by metaphysical dependence, I mean that the existence relies on something else, the existence of something else, right? So if you say like, okay, let's say like a causal like thing, right? Let's imagine like you throw a ball at a window, and that the cause is throwing the ball, and the window is it breaking. You wouldn't have the window break, right? The window breaks only if the ball is thrown, right?
Yeah,
so there's
so
a dependence
you're
there.
taking cause to be some sort of like ontological relationship, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's fine. It's just not like an analytic truth that contingent things have a cause in that sense.
Cause or reason.
I mean, it could be like essentially what you're asserting is the PSR here.
A weaker version of the PSR.
It's not the weakest version of the PSR. And so like look, the way I. Oh, by the way, sorry, I have to ask a separate question. Do you take relationships to be included in the set of things that are either contingent or necessary?
of relationships within contingent or necessary. As existence, like them being like relationships existing necessarily or contingently.
Like for example, would you say the statement like would you say it makes sense to say like if I throw a baseball at the window, then the window breaks? Would you say that proposition, that relationship between me throwing a window, would you say that that's in the category of things that are either contingent or necessary?
I see. Yeah. So if there's a metaphysical dependence between the two of them, then it would be necessary. Yeah.
What I mean is the relationship itself. Is the relationship itself necessary or contingent? Like, i.e., does it make sense to say that like there could be no other way? Like, if it's the case that the baseball, like if that relationship is necessary, then it follows that if the baseball hits the window, then it necessarily follows that the window breaks. Or alternatively, if that relationship is contingent, then if the baseball hits the window, then it doesn't necessarily follow, but it's possible that the window will break. I guess what I'm asking is, are you saying that, would you agree that in this worldview, would you agree that propositions are objects that can be either contingent or necessary?
I don't know if I don't know what kind of commitment I have to that. All I know is that like if we're talking about causation, like let's say like in the physical universe, it could have not been the case that those things were causally related, right? Because the physical laws could have been different.
So the reason why I'm asking is because often we can offer often the kinds of explanations we offer are like relational explanations.
Right.
And if relational explanations aren't in the category of contingent or necessary, then that means that that means that P1 is false, right? Because then you could have things that, or sorry, that means that the conjunction between the conjunction between P5 and P1 is false. Because you could have things that have a cause that are relational, where the cause is some like relation between the things. But because relations are not the kind of things that are either contingent or necessary, it would mean that there is a cause for something that is not contingent or necessary. And so if you take that, I guess, and also in conjunction with a thing being a cause exists, then that would mean that it exists, but it's not contingent or necessary, and yet it's a cause of something. So you would have an issue there.
I guess like I'm trying to make sure that I'm categorizing everything correctly. You're talking about the relations themselves, like an XY relationship, right?
Yeah,
like, so,
sure.
Like,
yeah.
So
like the way that we would say that, like, what is the and I can just give an example, like, what is the cause of the best example I can think of is from quantum mechanics. What is the cause of the wave function evolving the way it evolves? Right?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And like the answer that we would typically give is like, look, the wave function is a thing that obeys a certain kind of relation. Like there's a relation. If there is a wave function, then it evolves according to the Schrodinger equation. That's like the explanation for why it evolves that way.
Yeah.
But if that's not the kind of thing that can fall into this category of contingent or necessary, because it's like a relation and not like an object, then it seems like that we run into a problem with this argument.
So when you're talking about the wave function and the quantum event, you would say that the quantum event and the wave function, there's a dependency between them, such that if it were not the case there was some wave function, then there would not be a case.
No, so
you would observe that quantum event.
So no, I'm saying something perhaps slightly simpler. So like there's a phenomenon, or like here's another example. So we have an event of an object falling, right? In the presence of, I don't know, a black hole or Earth or whatever. You drop something. There's a few different pieces for the cause. You could say like, oh, the heavy thing that has the gravity is at least partially responsible for it. But there's also this relationship, right? There's this relationship between heavy things and this force that causes things to fall. Like if you didn't have gravity, well, the heavy thing wouldn't make the lighter thing fall towards it. So you need this extra relationship, this extra kind of like conceptual or propositional relationship between, you know, a heavy thing and the you know the thing that's falling, and that is also a cause insofar as if that relationship were not there, then the event wouldn't happen. So you need to, and the reason this is an issue is because if you say that relationships can be necessary or contingent, then you end up either accepting brute facts, or you end up accepting this, or you end up being a necessitarian, and so everything becomes necessary. On the other hand, if you don't accept that relations are the kinds of things that can be necessary or contingent, then the argument itself is unsound, because you end up saying, like, there are, for example, you would say that if something is a cause, then that thing exists. So P3 just is not true in light of that, right?
Okay, I see. Well, I think I'm tracking, but it's a little confusing. When I say like when you're talking about the relationships between like the ball falling and then like all of the like sort of the gaps in between, like or like the laws that you're bringing about, they're describing still the physical universe, right? So when I say like the physical universe, I'm talking about all the laws, the physical entities.
But the laws aren't physical, right?
Yeah, but they're describing physical things, right? So
Well, I mean,
all of
sure.
physical reality. You can just say like all of physical reality, or
well, sure. Look, but what I'm getting at is that there are certain necessary relationships, like propositional statements. I shouldn't say necessary relationships. There are certain propositional statements. You can call them what are they called? Like A implies B. There's a word for this.
Modus ponens.
No, I'm not talking about an argument. I'm talking about like the name of it's an implication. There are certain implications, relational implications between if A is true, then B is true. Actually, maybe I'll just so here maybe I'll make this point. So suppose So let's say A is necessary. P2. The proposition A implies B is necessary, and so the conclusion is that B is necessary. So the kinds of things that make up physical reality, these are the kinds of things that are A, right? A is like, you know, a plant, or like a black hole, or, you know, an electron. Like those are the things, and the things are either necessary or contingent.
Wait, A is going to be the variable for all the physical things.
So that's not what it's standing for, but like the way that you should think about it is that way. So like it makes sense to say that some things can be necessary, some things potentially can be contingent. Like, you know, you could say that, like, I don't know, the Earth is contingent, or maybe at least it's in principle possible that, like, you know, a black hole is necessary, or whatever, right? Like, these are the kinds of objects that are either contingent or necessary, right? The question is whether or not this kind of sentence makes sense. Does it make sense to say that this relationship is necessary? That's the question that I'm asking.
I see. So like whether, well, since I'm talking about them as metaphysical dependence, and so since the metaphysical dependence is a necessary truth in all possible worlds.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So like so if these variables are taking into them like objects, right? So
yeah,
like
so let's say this is like object A and object B. So we have object A implies object B. Does it make sense to say that that relationship, that whenever there's object A, that if object A exists, then object B exists? Does it make sense to say that that relationship is necessary?
That the relationship is necessary,
regardless between,
of
say,
what
A and B. Well, no,
regardless of what's
for
inside of the.
Like suppose that it's the case. I don't know how else to explain this. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that there are objects that propositions point to, and then there are propositions themselves, right? And so so I can say, like, the apple is red. That's a proposition, right? It has an object. The apple that has a predicate is red. No problem. And so, like, that proposition, that points to an apple, which is a thing, and it points to perhaps a property of that apple, which, you know, whether or not properties are things is a different story, but it points to a property of that apple. And so the proposition is true in light of what the apple is. But the question is, the proposition is not the redness of the apple. The redness of the apple is like a thing that exists. The proposition is a relationship between the apple and its redness. So the question is can those kinds of things, these kind of abstract propositions, can they be contingent or necessary that describe relations between objects?
Can relations be contingent or necessary? I mean, I guess I would have to, I mean, as long as there's one case where you can have a contingent or necessary relationship, then then what you're claiming is yes, right? Then what, right? So
Yeah,
if I can,
probably.
right? So it means that there is some relationship that is contingent or necessary. So we just need to have one example of a relationship that is necessary. Okay. So an existence relationship, let's say, right? Like,
like, do you think it's necessary that God created the earth or that God created the universe?
Yeah, from my argument.
Like, if God exists, then necessarily God created the universe?
If God exists, then necessarily God created the universe.
Would you agree with that proposition?
Yes.
Okay. So look, the reason why this is problematic is we have, so P1, let's say God exists.
Okay.
Let's say God exists necessarily, right? Let's grant that for the sake of argument. P2, if God exists, then God necessarily creates the universe. Now, it follows from, I guess it's called Kripke semantics. It's standard modal reasoning. It's not even S5. It follows that conclusion, the universe is necessarily created, i.e. the universe is necessary. And that's really, really not good, because then you just get that everything's necessary, right?
So God exists necessarily. If God exists, then God necessarily creates the universe. I don't know how. I don't think it. I would guess I would stop at P2. That's the only place that I would be able to stop. So if God exists, then God necessarily creates the universe. Yes, but the universe itself still has the modal property of being, like, it could have been different, right?
No, that's well, we can change P2 to, we can say if God exists, then God necessarily creates the universe in a certain way. So are you suggesting that God could have created the universe in a different way?
Yes, I am.
So then you're saying that, so rather it's, so now we have premise one, God could have, or what do I want to say? Yeah, God could have, God's creation, let's say God's specific creation, like describing all of the different properties that the universe could have had. God's specific creation is contingent. Okay, what is it contingent upon?
So like we're talking about his creation being the physical universe.
Yeah, creation of the universe. So like he could have created it in a different way, right? So what is it contingent upon?
Okay, so I guess it would be contingent upon God, right?
Okay. Now so God's specific creation of the universe is contingent. Is it necessarily contingent upon God, or could it have been meaning could God have could the relationship between God existing and that specific creation have been different? Could God existing have led to a different type of creation?
I see.
Basically, what I'm getting at is that there's kind of like, for any cause effect, or for any I guess cause effect relation, we can use that language. For any cause effect relation, there's kind of two pieces that can either be contingent or necessary for a given effect. There's the actual cause itself, could be contingent or necessary, and then there's the relationship between the cause and effect that could be contingent or necessary. Like, it could be that God exists necessarily, but there's some contingent fact about the way that God's existence leads to the creation of the universe. But now you have a contingent relation that itself requires explanation. And so you either end up with either a infinite chain of contingencies, B, a brute contingency, or C, that there are no contingencies at all. Because a necessary being having a necessary relation with an effect means that the effect is necessary itself.
A contingent being with a necessary effect?
Yeah, so let me just, I'll just write it out in variables. So we have A is necessary.
Okay.
And then we have A implies B is necessary. That means that B is necessary. So A is God. The relationship A implies B is if God exists, then God creates the universe, for example. That means that the universe is necessary. Or if God exists, then God creates the universe in a specific way. If that relationship is necessary, then the universe being in this specific way is necessary.
I think P2 is jumping though, because when you are talking about the relationship between A and B, you're talking about the relationship itself and not including.
No, you're right. So if I say that instead that this is contingent, well, then I just change the conclusion and I say A implies, I just say A implies B is created or is caused or is ontologically dependent on whatever it might be, on C. So that is on C. That is, C implies A implies B. And then we have to ask, does that relationship, C implies A implies B, is that necessary or contingent? And so either you will eventually get to something necessary, some relationship that's necessary, or in which case the whole chain collapses, right? Or you end up with an infinite chain of contingent causation, which becomes a problem.
Okay, so this is to get your argument is against the first premise, right?
My argument
this is more your main contention.
My argument is against so it's against the compatibility of several premises. So it's either P1 or P2 or P5. So it's an argument against the conjunction of those three premises.
Well, but if you take them all singly, right? Like if the argument is valid, then you should. It follows.
But the point
from
is
all
that
the other premises.
the point is so this argument that I'm offering basically says that they can't all be true simultaneously. That there is an implied contradiction.
Okay, so and the contradiction is between every contingent thing has a cause, which I feel is a good premise, and then P1, and then what was the other
P2
two?
and
It was
P5.
P2 and P5.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever exists does so contingently or necessarily. And then just to be sure, when I'm talking about contingently or necessarily, I'm talking about them as modal.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Like, okay. And then, okay, so then P5 is fine. And so you are going against P. So the P1 and P2 will need to be
or P5 is wrong, and there's like a third category of things. I guess I'd probably accept P5. That's probably like a reasonable thing to say. It would be between P1 and P2. So look, so the point is like, I wish I could draw. So like I said, there's two dependencies that any effect depends on. There's the thing that caused it, and then there's the relationship between the thing and the effect. There's the cause-effect relationship and the cause.
Oh, so when you posit that something is an effect of another thing, it's causing. Okay, so you get the consequent, right? You get the causal consequent, and then you get the relationship that's formed between the cause and the effect.
Yeah. Like, did the cause necessarily lead to the effect, or is it just did the cause just contingently lead to the effect?
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's like different kind. It's like a different level of analysis. Then.
Yeah, and so we have to. So the point is if you have if both of those pieces are necessary, then the effect is necessary. That's standard modal logic. However, if one of the pieces is not necessary, i.e. it's contingent, well, then all you have to do is just push the argument back. You have a contingent thing, so it's either so the cause and the causal relationship is either, they're both either necessary, they're both contingent, or one's contingent and one's necessary. And then you just keep prodding back at the contingent thing until you end up with either you always have necessity, in which case the whole chain collapses, or you end up with a brute fact, which we don't want, or you end up with an infinite chain. And so what I'm suggesting is that if you demand that every contingent thing has a cause, I would just understand, and that includes these cause-effect relationships, that would just mean that there are no contingent things.
Okay, so if we accept every contingent thing has a cause, then that will imply that there are no contingent things.
Yeah.
Okay, and then can you show me the argument for that again?
Yeah, well, yeah. So again, we have to assume that relationships can be included as things, right? And so I actually wrote this up somewhere. Let me see if I can pull it up, because I have it formally written out somewhere. Is it here?
This is really fun. I didn't think about this part too deep. Or I thought about it deeply, but I didn't get this idea yet. So let's...
one sec. I have it somewhere. I thought. Yeah, did I delete it? Annoying, I deleted it. Okay, I deleted it, so I'll have to just produce it on the fly. But yeah, so okay, suppose that there, or P1, there exists a contingent thing. P2 is just what you called P1. Every contingent thing is a cause. Conclusion, let's call it contingent thing A. Conclusion, A has a cause, call it B. P3, if B is a cause of A, then the proposition A implies B, B implies A, is either necessary or contingent. That's from your P5. So P4, if the proposition B implies A is necessary, is either necessary, I should say, is necessary, then if B is necessary, it follows that A is necessary. And so then you just get that a necessary cause with a necessary relation leads that A is necessary. This is a this is a contradiction, right? That contradicts P1. So it follows then that we have either the proposition B implies A is contingent, or B is contingent. I guess that's a conclusion, technically. And so now we just run the same thing. We just repeat the exact same argument for replacing A with B implies A or with B. And so you end up with an infinite regress.
But then, so you end up with an infinite regress, and that infinite regress is absurd. But
and
then
so premise one must be rejected.
Or premise one could be rejected, or you could reject the assumption that relations are things that can be necessary or contingent. But then the relation, if you reject that relationship,
if you reject
can be necessary
that, then we have examples of things that do have. Then we have examples of things that have causes that are not necessary or contingent.
Wait, how? How?
So, like the example I gave is like the gravitational relationship between a heavy thing and a light thing, right? That is a cause per your definition, because if that relationship didn't exist, then the thing would not fall. And yet that is a relationship that if the heavy object exists, then the light object will fall on it. If that relationship wasn't there, surely the object wouldn't fall. Or if that relationship was false, rather.
Oh, okay. So then you have the physical events, right? The physical events of the thing actually falling, and then you have the proposition that describes those events.
Yep.
Okay, and then you're saying that those two things
describes that describes the relationship between the cause and the effect, I should say.
That right. So the relationship that you're talking about, like if A then B, that relationship is still dependent on the physical events, right? Like you wouldn't have.
I don't know if I would say a relationship is dependent on physical events. The relationship can be true even if the events don't happen, right?
The relationship
like for example, you could have gravity in a universe with no matter in it. It would just be kind of vacuously true. Like the relationship, if there's mass near me, then I feel an attractive force. That could be true even if there's no mass near me.
But isn't gravity physical?
That's the question. Or that is a really important question. I mean, like we describe these things as we want to say that they're physical because these are. So yes, but also it is the physics. Like
I guess
it's important, perhaps an important distinction to make. That like, is the physics physical? Maybe, maybe not.
I guess like the kind of thing that I'm thinking about is that when I describe physical reality, I'm just talking about like a domain of discourse. So I'm talking about just anything that physics studies, right? Like so, I take it that you're a physicalist, right? Because
I don't like to use that word anymore because I don't think that there's a good definition of what a physical thing is.
Yeah. But as long as that thing is physical, it would have a cause. Is what I would imagine.
Okay,
as long as that thing is physical, then it would be contingent, right?
So what is what does it mean? Well, okay, yeah. So then you agree that these kinds of relationships between things, those things could either be contingent or necessary, or they are either contingent or necessary. Which then just leads us back to this issue of you have to reject premise one.
There exists a contingent thing A. I guess let me just read this really quick just to make sure that I'm agreeing. There exists a contingent thing A. Okay, so I'm on vertical, so I can't really see the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I can move around, or I can make it smaller, perhaps.
Oh yeah, that works
better.
Yeah, but could you move it a little to the left or to your right?
Okay. My right.
Or I guess now it is your left.
Okay,
then.
there we go.
Okay, there you go. There exists a contingent thing A. Every contingent thing has a cause. A has a cause. Okay. Okay, yep. Call it B. If B is the cause of A, then the proposition B implies A is either necessary or contingent. Oh, okay. Then the proposition B implies A is either necessary or contingent. So where did we get that the proposition has like some sort of existence?
Well, that's what I was asking about at the very beginning, right?
Oh,
we have
right.
like are these things are these kinds of relations are those things that have necessary or contingent? Or do those things have necessity? Do they have contingency? Can they have those properties? If not, then if this relationship is neither necessary or contingent, and it is required in order for B to actually cause A, if this relationship was, say, false, for example, I should say, by the way, that the proposition being true is either necessary or contingent, right? Like that's a little bit, just to be a little bit more precise. But if the relationship, say, were not true, then it would just not be the case that B causes A. So under your definition of what a cause is, that there's some counterfactual dependence, suppose in a world where B implies A was not true, then it would just not be the case that if B existed, then A would happen. So in that sense, this proposition can be viewed as a cause.
I guess I don't know if I'm really following, but I would imagine that there's some sort of like with the physical thing that B is a cause of A is a physical thing, let's say, right? And then the proposition B implies A being true, you would have to say
maybe it's an abstract object or something.
Some abstract object, yeah. So if it's some abstract object, then that thing doesn't have causal powers.
Given the definition, so would you say that abstract objects are either necessary or contingent?
abstract objects are either necessary or contingent. Mm, I don't know, because then I would have to talk about like Platonism or nominalism and stuff like that. So
That's
not...
fine. So I mean, like, if we accept that, like, this proposition, or we can even talk about like the relationship that the proposition points to. And so I mean, like, propositions talk about relationships or talk about things, and maybe those things are relationships, maybe they're physical objects, whatever they are. So I guess what I'm asking is, does it make sense to say that there is a possible world where B exists and A does not exist?
Given that B is the cause of A.
No, well, yeah, in the actual world, B is the cause of A. But is there a possible world where B exists but A does not exist?
Like just the objects themselves, not the B.
Not the proposition, no. Is there a possible world where, in our actual world, the existence of B implies the existence of A, right?
Right, in our world, right.
But is there a world in which the existence of B does not imply the existence of A?
Is there a world where B is... I would say no, given that B is the cause of A in this world.
So then it follows that, and this is true for every A and every B then, right? So then it follows that any time that there's a B in any possible world, A must follow, meaning that any time that you have a cause, the effect necessarily follows from that cause. Which, so essentially you're granting that this relationship is necessary for any cause.
That
sorry, let me rephrase.
If B is the cause of A, yeah.
So if in the actual world B is the cause of A, then in all possible worlds B is the cause of A.
Because I'm calling that metaphysical dependence.
Yeah, sure.
So if B is counterfactually dependent on A, then in all possible worlds, if B were not the case, it would not be the case at A. Yeah.
So then it just follows then that if B is necessary, then A is necessary. Because if B is necessary, it exists in all possible worlds. And if B is present in all possible, if B is present in any possible world, then it implies that A is present in that possible world. But B is present in every possible world. Therefore, A is present in every possible world.
If B is necessary, then A would be necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, let's think, or let me think. Okay, so if B is necessary, okay, so let's say like mathematics or something, right? If A is mathematics, then if B is necessary, hey, could you say that part again?
Yeah, so we have premise one was if B causes A in the actual world, then if B is present in any possible world, A is also present in that possible world. Is this a correct summary of what you said?
If B causes A in the actual world, then if A is present in any possible world, A is also present in that possible world. I don't know if I would say that if B causes A in the actual world, it's just that if B is the cause of A. Like if you are saying that B is the cause of A, like this kind of like counterfactual, like why I run the counterfactual causation thing is so that you have it's just a metaphysical like discourse at that point. So it doesn't matter like where.
Could you give me an example? So like the reason okay, so we could just say why don't we just say if B causes A? Would you agree with this?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it follows, and then we have P2. If B is necessary, then B is present in every possible world. That's trivially definition. Conclusion. If B is necessary, then A is present in every possible world. Conclusion. If B is necessary, then A is necessary. So anytime that you have, if you have that B causes A and B is necessary, then A is necessary. So God causes the universe. God is necessary, therefore the universe is necessary.
Okay.
And this then just follows for literally everything that exists. You end up with that everything is necessary.
And then but the explanation for the existence of all of those things that follow from God, you would still have the ultimate like sort of explanation coming from God.
Yeah, so your chain of necessary things would end at God, but there are no contingent things at all.
I see.
And the reason this is a problem is
Oh,
because
but the problem is then that if you have, okay, so if let's say if B is necessary, then A is present in all possible worlds, right? And since we've assumed that B causes A, then yeah, there would be A would be in all possible worlds, but it but couldn't it still be the case that A is still mutable, right? Like because B could have not been the case, right?
Let's adjust this just to be a little bit more precise. If B causes A to be exactly as it is, then if B is present in any possible world, A, exactly as it is also present in that possible world. Because B caused A to be exactly this way.
If B causes A to be exactly as it is, then if B is present in any possible world, A exactly as it is.
Or we could just say that A means the thing and all of its features.
Gosh, modal talk is
it is weird. It is weird, I agree.
It's so hard. Yeah.
So
I don't
essentially this leads to, at least my understanding is that this leads to modal collapse, right? And it also leads to God not having free will. And it also leads to God not having, in fact, arguably God not having a will at all, because God couldn't have done anything any other way. God is essentially a mechanism in this, if you end up this way.
I see.
Which is
right.
Which is not what you want to say.
So I see the tension that happens when you posit a necessary being causing something that's contingent, right?
Yeah.
It would make it seem like that contingent thing isn't actually contingent at all, because if you're saying that like God causes the physical universe, then he does so necessarily, and so you would think that the contingent things are also necessary in themselves. But
Yeah.
I don't think I would make that leap, because you still think that the cause and the effect are ontologically distinct things. So
yeah, they are ontologically distinct, but that doesn't mean that they're not both necessary.
Right. So, but they're ontologically distinct, and so it's not like because God is necessary that then the things that he causes are like it doesn't like, I don't know if it will follow that then those contingent things are in themselves necessary.
Can I show you something?
Yeah.
Let me just pull something up really quick. So we don't actually need the full thing, we just need part of it. So this is the Wikipedia page for S5 modal logic. Ignore the S5 part, it's not actually relevant. Just look at the K axiom. So the K axiom says, if the relationship, or if the implication A implies B is necessary, let me make this bigger. If the relationship A implies B is necessary, then necessarily A implies necessarily B. That's all I'm claiming. And basically, the way that you understand causation is that these kinds of causative relationships are necessary. So as long as the cause A is necessary, then it necessarily implies that B, or then it follows that B is necessary. That's all I'm relying on.
Okay, so if necessarily A implies B, then it must be the case that if necessarily A, then necessarily B. Okay, but so this is a logical like rule, right? So this is
Yeah.
a modal logical rule,
Yep.
but the rules themselves don't have any content. So the content when I'm talking about though is purely like a like an ontological, like it's ontological, its existence as it's a substantive thing. So this is just structural.
Yeah,
Right.
so you can interpret these symbols however you want, right?
So then the necessary that you're using is, it seems like it's necessary in like a in a in like a modal logic kind of way, where
Yeah.
it's like it follows from the premises. But when I say necessary, I'm saying like necessary in terms of like its existence.
I thought we were using
Right?
necessary in the possible world semantics kind of way.
By saying that like, but
By saying like existence in possible worlds, or existing in all possible worlds, or in no possible worlds, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that,
exactly.
I mean, that's all these operators are doing.
I don't.
I mean, like, so you can reject, you could say that this axiom is false for the kind of modal logic that you want, but it just seems like, I don't know how, like, I can't make sense of a world where this axiom is false.
Right. Okay, so so every contingent, I guess, like just going back to my argument, then you are rejecting which premise?
One sec. So essentially, I'm suggesting that P1 and P2 are in conflict. You can't have both of them true at the same time.
You cannot have both of these true at the same time, because every contingent thing has a cause or explanation, where cause is understood as metaphysical dependence, and that the physical universe is contingent. And you can't have those two things because, but still, like, you can't have those two things because of a contradiction.
Well, yeah. So if every contingent thing has a cause, then it seems like, if every contingent thing has a cause, I guess I should actually probably there's one extra feature here. If it's true that every contingent thing has a cause and there exists a necessary cause.
Oh, but we haven't gotten
to... No, that's true. So you could have that every contingent thing has a cause and P2 is true, but then you would have, but then that would imply that you have an infinite chain of contingent explanations.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess we would end up having to reject P7, whatever P7 ends up being, if you want to accept P1 and P2. That there'd be I was assuming that we were disregarding infinite chains of causation or infinite chains of contingency. If you grant the possibility of infinite chains of contingency, then you could have P1 and P2 are true. You would just have an infinite chain of contingent things with no necessary cause. On the other hand, if you reject the possibility of an infinite chain of contingent causes, then P1 and P2 are in conflict.
I see. Okay, yeah, no, this is really helpful. I think that I'm gonna try to, I think I'm like running out of brain power.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
I need to get coffee anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to keep like trying to figure it out like right here,
good.
right now.
By the way,
I really appreciated this.
Have you talked to Ian before?
I did, but he actually helped me out by like telling me that my argument was really bad, which it was really bad. But then I got to this stronger one.
Yeah. So Ian will recommend that you Ian is a necessitarian. I am not a necessitarian. I'm actually pretty agnostic about it. But if you accept this statement, if you reject infinite chains of causation, and if you accept P1, then I think it follows you have to be a necessitarian. Which, you know, maybe you want to be, but if you're a necessitarian, then that just means that God is not really an interesting being, right? Because then everything is necessary. So like, you know. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, feel free to come back on at a later date if you thought about it more, or talk to Ian. Ian and I kind of share similar beliefs in this thing. So
cool, thanks. Yeah, this is just like my first step into trying to figure out what it is that I believe in, and then like, yeah, like if it might end up with necessitarianism, like I don't know how that would impact my beliefs, at least religious beliefs, but
so I think, and this is just like, I'm not sure if this works, but I think that what you could do is you could be a necessitarian and then just say, look, God's will is necessary. And God is just not a mind in the way that you and I think of minds, where minds have like thoughts and they have free will and they like do things and want things. God would be more of like a necessary force of nature, if you will. Right. That you wouldn't be able to have a personal God anymore, but you'd still at least be able to have some sort of like necessary origin, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I've always had issue with, like, even if this argument is sound, right, you would still need to make the leap from the existence of a necessary being to one that is theistic, one that it's like, that is a leap that would take a lot of work to do.
I mean, that is the general struggle with contingency arguments. I mean, like I push back on contingency arguments just because I'm really agnostic about, like, I'm not even sure if I should believe that every contingent thing has a cause to begin with. Like that might be like I mean, like at an everyday level, like obviously, like, you know, that's like kind of like the way that I intuit things in the universe working, but I don't know if I can apply that intuition to like much larger things like the universe itself, right?
I think that, so actually, like with the P1 and P2, I kind of made them so like that specific just to kind of remove the physics out of it.
Yeah, sure.
And you know, like that's like a choice on my part, and it might even be, you know, that's just how I'm framing it. The frame could be different as well.
I think I think you did generally a fairly good job of framing it. I don't think that there's like, so I mean, look, I'm not going to rehash my contention here, but I think that like overall this is pretty well framed. It's just there is tension there that at least, you know, maybe it doesn't seem as big of an issue. Like the tension doesn't seem as big of an issue to you, but it definitely seems like a big issue to me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna let you go. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Take care. He was super chill. They were super chill. I don't want to assume any pronouns. But yeah, Angel Baby was a really cool person. I'd love to talk to them again. Yeah, so here's the thing. We're roughly at the end of the live. Now, I am going to say one thing. So before we end the live, I'm going to do another debate live tomorrow because I won't be live for the rest of the week because of Thanksgiving and so on. And so instead of doing an Ask a Physicist live tomorrow, I'm going to do a debate live. We're going to do probably a Young Earth Creationism live, I suspect. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for some more debates. And yeah, let's read some super chats and we'll call it a day, okay? So we have from The One Corrupted. Oh, let's hide this. From The One Corrupted, we have... these are the same points I would make for Azathoth's dream. We exist in the dream of a blind idiot god. The dream is the substrate of reality. Well, thank you for the $5. That's an interesting point. I mean, like, you could just hold the view that like God is like a force of nature, and then you're fine. But then the question is, why prefer that there is just this necessary God that's a force of nature rather than a necessary universe? That's perhaps a valid contention. Then we have $5 from Freakish Preacher. Thank you so much. Thousands of religions in all of recorded, unrecorded history. Statistical probability that our top 3 modern religions being the true God is super unlikely. Here's the funny thing. Judaism is not one of the top religions. Most people assume it's like the Abrahamic religions are like the main religions. Judaism is like makes up like 0.02%, 0.2% of the world's population. Like it's not even 1%. Unless you mean Hinduism. If you meant Hinduism or Buddhism, then yeah, sure. Atheist Cat sent cheers. Thank you for the cheers. I appreciate that. And Jesse sent a thank you for 500 joules. Thank you so much. And we have 5 Swiss francs from Makey. Bro thinks he's smarter than Young Hoom Kim. Not only do I think I'm smarter than him, I think I'm more honest than him, because the organization that he took his IQ test at was an organization that he owned. Right? That's not honest. Morgumi sends $5. Chat is too harsh. Caller was good faith and intelligent. I agree. Caller was super good faith. I appreciate that. And $2 from C-Bar. Now let me just double check that there are no... By the way, C-Bar, and if you guys don't know, C-Bar has been supporting my live streams for like years now. Like, it may not be flashy, but like, I appreciate C-Bar so much for being like a regular supporter for so long. And Lou sent a... or Lou bought me a coffee, so thank you for the $5, Lou. All right, I'm going to end the live here. I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place, same stuff.